Chris, just so you're aware. Hello and welcome to the Automation Village Virtual Trade Show. This is the May 14th session. This is our third virtual trade show that we've done. I'm Dave Spencer, and joining me today is Chris Little.
Hi, everybody. I'm Chris Little, and we are streaming live today in Chicago and also everywhere else, including the city where you are right now. So welcome to Virtual Chicago. Dave, where are you right now?
So I am in Wolf Point. This is actually a photo from one of the previous trade shows that I took from a beautiful hotel room that I had.
Nice.
So
and I am in virtual McCormick Place. For those of you who go to WEFTEC every year in the wastewater industry, you'll know it well. And you'll also be interested to know that virtual McCormick Place is way cheaper than actual McCormick Place. we virtually set up this booth in no time.
Yeah, this is true. Yes, Brian will be thankful. So today we've got roughly a dozen presentations for you guys. They're all going to be in the related to the automation industry. We've got about 10 guest presenters who are going to come in and talk about different things from Xylem to Affinity, ERIS, Omron, all kinds of different guests. I think you could see them on the screen there.
Yeah, and so as we've sort of said before, the whole idea of this thing is that people have, during this time, every year they put aside a certain amount of time and resources and money to attend trade shows, to bring in new ideas, to make connections that they can carry forward in their regular lives. And so, my earbud just knocked out. So what we're trying to do here is sort of recreate that. So one part of it is this live stream, and the next part will be next week where we do breakout sessions, which are more like live presentations and meetings.
So first up for our keynote, Chris, we've got Glenn Wadden, and Glenn's going to be talking today about some cautions, some things to consider regarding writing custom code.
Now, Glenn should be there. Hi, Glenn. How are you?
Sorry, Chris, just fumbling here, getting my mic on. So good morning. It's great to be live in Chicago, or actually we're virtually in our headquarters in Nova Scotia. So it's still great to be able to communicate with everyone, even though it's a little bit odd not seeing people face to face.
It's true. Now, you've been, we appreciate that for each of our live virtual trade shows, you've come on to do kind of a keynote. And last time you were talking about our scripting language and basically talking about why you, years ago you chose to develop our own scripting language, or that would last longer, that wouldn't be a third-party component, and sort of the importance of that, and also about how you could use that scripting language to customize pretty much every part of VTScada. This week, we're going to talk about the flip side of that idea.
Right. So it is it's a neat idea that software is a really powerful tool, and most of the world turns on software. And I mean, this morning is kind of an obvious indication that that's the way the world runs today, is on software. So what I'd like to point out today, though, is that although software is a fabulous tool for productivity that you can't obtain in any other way, it also has associated with a lot of risks that go with software. The risks are both in catastrophic failure, never completing a project, to just costs running out of control. So we got to balance the risks and the rewards with software. There are huge rewards if you get software right. So it's when you're taking on a software project, you can expect that implementing custom code on top of a standard SCADA project, the custom code part is likely to be far more expensive than any other part of the project. So it's something to keep in mind. So the rewards have to be worth it when you're looking at that sort of thing. So you want to flip on to the next slide.
Boom.
We're looking at some of the top causes of productivity loss here. And one of the things that I've got them down here as bullet points, but they're really kind of an ordered list. And the top of the list I wanted to say is software faults being the number one thing that we see that causes SCADA or control systems to fail. Followed by a number two, less likely, but hardware equipment failures. They are there, but because of redundancy in those equipment, that tends to be less of a failure problem. Down to number three, operator errors. People make mistakes and they cause disruption in productivity, cost, and other disasters. And you can cite in history of people making errors that causes plane crashes or chemical leaks or whatever, reactor cores to melt. We got malware as the number four. That's something that gets a lot of attention, and it probably deserves a lot of attention because it doesn't get much attention in some ways. People are unsure about malware, but as far as the damage caused by malware to systems, it really is kind of down the list quite a bit. So you want to step on to the next slide, Chris?
Yep, one moment.
Yeah, thanks. I just want to throw out here some notable failures, and these are projects that have relied on software, and just to walk through some of these, because these are some of the most notable ones. They're by far not the only kind of software failures that are out there. There are thousands. I mean, I've heard stats say that some of the biggest risks are more than half of software projects that are ever undertaken are never completed because of other cost overruns or failures to complete. So one of those in that category are the Denver airport baggage system that was done in the mid-90s, I think. And it was going to be the great reward of having a totally automated baggage handling system. That system, totally relying on the software there, ended up delaying the opening of the airport by 16 months. And that 16-month delay, plus all the software and other associated costs, cost $560 million at the time. And not only that, once they got the system sort of partially running after the 16 months, it was costing them $1 million a month to keep the automated system running, and still didn't work well. So they went back to a manual system, which was less expensive. That was a total disaster. And continuing on with the other disasters on the list there, we talk about the NASA Mars Climate Orbiter. That's one of the probes that went off to Mars. Software bug. It was in an old journal that I remember seeing back many years ago, listing the code, and you can see that there was a bug in that code. Cost $193 million when that spacecraft crashed into Mars. Looking at more recently, Boeing, poor Boeing. They've got this Starliner, the manned capsule test that they sent up, $410 million loss. 61 errors that or faults that were calculated in from NASA that failed to achieve its goal of getting planned people to the space station. Fortunately, no people were on board of that test. Ariane 5 rocket, $500 million catastrophic failure. So the picture down there in the lower left. 40 seconds after liftoff, it exploded due to a software error. They had to back up redundant servers, but the same fault happened to both servers. Caused the guidance system to fail and the rocket to disintegrate. And the big one lately is Boeing 737 MAX 8 software problem causing crashes. You see in the lower right-hand side there. Huge disaster, costing Boeing and the airline industry over $18 billion. And I think the costs are still rising on that one. So that's a really give you some sort of insight of what we're facing here. These are projects, not just, when you're undertaking a project in software, this is the kind of risks that you may be running into. Good news is there's a lot of success stories too, but you got to be aware there's risks associated with that. So we're looking at what exactly am I talking about when I'm talking about software projects, and really I'm talking about the top bullet point there, and that's the kind of stuff that looks like what's in the circle there. Traditional software lines of code. That's the stuff that gets really complicated. Now, there's other things that you could consider software, like configuration and set point settings, network configuration of firewalls and routers. Even spreadsheets that have macros and so on are all kind of software. But the one that has the most potential for gaining the most and causing the most trouble is in the hardcore software. And the reason why that is that software complexity grows as the square of the number of modules that you have. So as the software complexity or the size doubles, the number of connections between software modules quadruples. So when you get into hundreds of modules connecting, they get to be extremely complicated, and more complexity means you get these great complex systems that people create, but they become very difficult to manage and understand the whole thing. So going on to my last slide here, the big takeaway from this is that less code means less risk. Now, that doesn't mean we don't want to do code. One of our customers says that VTScada is one of the few SCADA platforms that give you an application platform. By an application platform means something that you can actually develop tools on that will actually improve your productivity greatly. But you got to take that with is that value meaning something? So you got to look at things that you want to prefer the built-in behavior versus writing your own code. Be clear for what your requirements are, because sometimes people write code that doesn't meet the requirements of what people are looking for.
1 minute.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. On the other thing you've got to watch out for is this idea that you can hire programmers, what I call them gig programmers, ones that are just hired for guns for hire. You just bring them in, they do the coding, and they walk away. Problem with code is that it needs maintenance, and code needs documentation, needs people to understand how it works. And so when you're putting on a piece of code, you have to own it. You have to have the people around that are going to maintain it. So it's a big cost to writing this code, but often there's a big reward associated with it too. So be cautious of just saying, oh, there's all kinds of programmers that can do this thing and do these great things for us. But, there's a big risk involved. With risk and reward, they're mated. All right, back to you, Chris.
So, thank you. So says Spider-Man's uncle.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks, Glenn.
Well, thanks very much, Glenn.
Yeah. Now we are on to our contest. So we're not going to, we're going to tell you about the contest. Dave's going to tell you about the contest now.
Right. So throughout the trade show, we're going to have, I believe it's 5 contests. And in each case, you're going to send an email to natasha.lutz@trihedral.com. But at contest time, Chris and I are going to give you a special sort of subject line phrase that you're going to put in. And if you get that email into Natasha right away, then you will have a chance to win. And it's going to be, the prize for this is going to be a $100 online shopping voucher to probably, you can guess it, online shopping store.
And we're going to give away 5 of them.
Right. So, and for anybody looking at the rules and stuff, they can visit the description below and they can see the full rule sets. But the basic thing is no Trihedral people and no people from our exhibitors today.
Great.
So, Chris, next up, we're going to be going into one of our first guest presenters, and that's going to be Nick Claudio from EMA, correct?
Right. And while we're waiting for him to come online, we'll just talk a little bit, again, from a trade show point of view. What he's going to talk about is one of the emerging trends in the controls industry right now, which is a style. How do you make displays that manage complexity? As systems get bigger and bigger, how do you represent that stuff on the screen in a meaningful way? And there's been a real sea change, I think, around what Nick's going to talk about.
Yeah, this is something that we've seen some really nice implementations of. And it's something that really a lot of people can agree can make a huge difference to how easy it is to pick out problems in a display. So, this is something that I've been fortunate to see kind of move into the industry, and something that I really like seeing, and something that we try to implement whenever we build our own graphics for some of our modern demos and other things.
Hi, Nick. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Great. So where are you? I know you're streaming live in Chicago, but where are you actually?
I am in Orlando, Florida.
Nice. And how's the weather there?
I can't tell you. I haven't been outside in days.
Good for you. You're being a good citizen. Okay, great. So you've got a lot to cover here, so why don't we jump right into it, and I'll drive the slides. Just say back or next.
Sure. Yeah, well, I'm going to talk about as an industry that EMA is coming across, or a trend in the industry EMA is coming across a lot, and that is the transition over to high-performance HMI graphics. And we can go to the next slide. So this actually started in 2008 with the introduction of the High Performance HMI Handbook. It's a great book if you want to go out and read more about the topic on your own. A lot of the concepts introduced in that handbook made its way into ISA's 101.01 standard in 2015, and you'll also see some highlights on the way to present alarms in ISA 18.2. So we can go on to the next slide. So really the purpose of a high performance HMI is situational awareness. So an understanding of what's going on in your process quickly. So at a glance understanding of where your process is at. And the goal is really to improve operator efficiency, to get you faster troubleshooting and minimize the number of clicks it takes for an operator to go from screen to screen. Okay, I'm going to jump into an example of that. So this is my cat Fluffy. Fluffy woke up one day, he wasn't feeling too well, so I took Fluffy to the vet. The vet runs a series of blood tests and gives me some results. And here are the results for Fluffy. So is Fluffy okay? Well, I'm not a vet. I don't have a clue if Fluffy is okay. But if we presented this data with maybe a range of what's good and what's bad, then I'd be able to tell. So if we go to the next slide, here we go. So I can see HCT is okay, HGB is okay, MCHC is okay, WBC is okay, GRANDS okay, L over M okay, PLT okay. I can get my answers, but it takes me a little while. But if I had a graphical indicator, now I can look at the test, I can look at the results, but the indicator helps me quickly scan. So at a glance, I can look at Fluffy and say, hey, Fluffy's okay. I don't have anything to worry about. Maybe Fluffy is just grumpy today. So let's look at maybe a more in-depth example. So here's a recycle compressor, and we have 13 values across our screen. And we know that the oil temperature is high. But I can also look and see that the discharge temperature is out of its normal range, but it's just highly abnormal, but not an alarm. And my coolant flow, if you look all the way to the left, is on the low end of the normal range. Now I have information. I have 13 different values, and I have information on all those different values in a small portion of my screen that helps me then go and look for the problem elsewhere. Let's take a deeper dive into this sort of information display. So if we go to the next slide. Here we go. So if we concentrate on the left portion, so the first piece of information display, we generally choose a color. It's usually like a sky blue type color. And what this shows you is the normal operating range of the value. This is where you want to see the value at all times. Then you have an abnormal range, which isn't an alarm, but you can start to feel something's going wrong when you have one or more values in their abnormal range. And then we start to indicate alarm ranges. So you can have high, 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 low, 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 and even a separate color for an interlock function. Now, if you look at the alarms that are displayed, you'll notice we don't just display the alarm. Every alarm has a different shape and a different color. And what operators learn is when you see the higher priority alarms, you know to react to that faster than the lower priority alarms. And generally, we recommend In an ISA 18.2, you're really looking at only 3 or 4 priorities of alarms. So this is a good representation of that. But if we go to the fourth graph and you see the dark blue, here's we can kind of introduce not a trend line, but sort of a trend where you're looking at where that value has been in the last couple of hours, right? So it'll help you understand even more about the process without actually taking up too much space on your screen. So this will allow you to get more value out of each and every screen, and also help to minimize the number of clicks an operator has to take. So let me kind of show you something that I have done. So if we go to the next slide, we will see a screen that, well, I didn't make this by myself. I had one of our best screen builders. We had our best VTScada scripting person to help us along. We brought in third-party data. So if you see the dark clouds in the background, we had live weather data for every lift station. This is an example of a triplex lift station. We made this. We were really looking for a screen that kind of looked good, and so we used big graphics. You'll notice there's 0 trends and very little graphical representation of data at all. If you wanted to know more about the way your pumps were operating, you had to click another button. If you wanted trends, you click another button. So there wasn't too much for the operator to troubleshoot on this screen. You had to go to other screens. If I had a chance to do this over, though, here's what I would do. So I made this next screen in VTScada as well. What I'm doing here is introducing trends. So that RTU that we built the screen around is a really smart RTU. It can give you things like insulation resistance tests. It's taking them automatically. It's monitoring 3-phase currents, 3-phase utility voltages. So it's able to give you things like specific energy. You can hook a flow meter to it, but if you didn't, it would actually calculate flow for you. So it was a very useful tool, gathering a lot of information, but we weren't displaying that information on screen. So with this do-over, we're kind of doing that. You can see utility power, you can see it trended. You can see specific energy, so you can see your pump performance over time. You can also see runtime per start. And with lift stations, clogging is generally one of the biggest issues. And so if you see the runtime gradually going up over time, you know that you have a soft clog. So you have something to go look at and know you need to troubleshoot. The other screen didn't allow you to do that. We still have weather, but weather isn't that important to the operation of the lift station. It's a useful tool, so we keep it on the screen, but it's kind of off to the side. You'll see it up there in the upper right corner. And then we also brought in the operator notes, right? So that's important for operators to be able to share information, especially maintenance data as they go from shift to shift. Okay. So here's my example of that. I think that, brings us to the end.
Very good. Well, thanks, Nick. So as with any kind of evolving technology or evolving methodology, of course, as it comes in, there tends to be a certain amount of resistance anytime there's a new way of looking at things. What kind of resistance do you experience from operators when moving to something like this, which might seem counterintuitive from their point of view?
Yeah, great question. So I'm involved in a project with a local utility, and we're working with 4 of their operators on developing new screens. We have one operator who can't wait to see the new screens get implemented. And then we have one operator on the other spectrum that's very resistant to the change. But I think once you show them the value, once the operators understand the value that they're going to receive, how this is going to make their job easier, they come over quickly to the new screens.
And of course, you developed both screens using the integrated Idea Studio and VTScada, so you were able to create those very high definition, very high impact graphics in the first case, and also the grayscale changing on data kind of high performance graphics in the second, all with the same tool set. And Dave, there's a number of new tools in version 12 that make it even easier to do that.
Yeah, I know the bar graphs are fully integrated with the I/O and calculation tag, which is a new tag type, so that you can actually put in all the parameters to set up the normal range and everything in the tag, and then that will be shown automatically in the widget with the correct scaling and everything else. So, Nick, I also wanted to ask you a little bit, just to explain a little, because I know that the colors that you selected for your ISA 101 compliance screens are chosen very much on purpose, kind of the grays, the blues, and you had a little magenta in there, which I thought was great, because I know as somebody who's made a few of those screens, it's very difficult to only be gray and blues. But could you give us a quick little bit of info about how that color scheme sort of works and why it's chosen that way?
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, the first thing is you want alarms and abnormal situations to pop out of the screen. So you have colors that are dedicated to alarms. So alarm priority 1, whatever color you choose, you're not allowed to use that color anywhere else, right? Then we choose different colors for process data. So if something is read from the PLC, it always has that same color wherever it's presented. And then when something is controllable by the operator, it gets its own color as well. So usually we choose like a blue for PLC data and a green for control data. But then when you kind of get into trouble when you want to compare things side by side, right? So That's when we start to introduce different colors, and you create a color palette.
So that's pretty much. Sorry to cut you off. We're just sort of running out of time. Can you quickly let us know where we can get in contact with you if people want to know more?
Sure. So there's EMA's website, ema-inc.com, and my email address is nclaudio@ema-inc.com.
And actually, those links are the link to that website is in the description of this video.
Perfect.
And if you have any questions for him, you can actually put those questions right in the comments for this live stream.
Perfect, Chris.
Thanks, Nick. Thanks for joining us. You did a great job of talking about this very interesting, evolving idea. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Nick.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for the time.
Right there.
All right, so
next, a network issue.
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I've got you loud and clear there, Chris. So next up, I think we've got a giveaway next.
Giveaway. All right. So if you've followed Dave's instructions earlier, you've already opened up your email, and you've got natasha.lutz@trihedral.com already typed in.
Right.
And
exactly like you see it on the screen right now, in the subject line, fully integrated SCADA. You don't have to put anything in the body. Get that in the subject line, get it sent to Natasha Lutz at Trihedral, and you could be the winner of a $100 online shopping voucher. So get that done quick. Come back into the trade show, because we're going to be very soon getting on with our next guest presentation, Paladon Americas.
Great. So Brian should be coming on right now. Brian Crook is with sales and operations with Paladin Americas. Are you there, Brian?
So it doesn't look like we have Brian on the line right now. I wonder if Pete, could you reach out to Brian quickly?
Well, the nice thing is actually that I think we may have had a technical issue, but Brian has gone the extra mile of actually creating a video for us in his 4K studio. So we can actually throw to that video now, and hopefully by the end of it, we'll have Brian here to answer a few questions.
Perfect.
Hello, I'm Brian Crook with Paladin Americas here in Houston, Texas. We're proud to present to you our EH-SY series electro-hydraulic control system and actuator. We manufacture this product in both quarter-turn actuators as well as linear actuators. The EHSY series actuator is available in 24 volt DC, 110 and 220 volt AC, 480 volt three-phase. We also offer it in several other alternative energies solutions, which would include a solar powered unit as well as a wind turbine powered unit. We have the ability to also put together the wind turbine and the solar in environments where you may not have wind and or solar at the same time. This product also has both analog and digital control, so we can use things like 4 to 20 milliamp modulating. We can use a voltage input to drive it open and close, but this product is now available as well in modulating. Our standard fluid in this is going to be an ISO 32, which is a traditional hydraulic fluid. It's available for your service technicians in places like O'Reilly Auto Parts or any other auto parts supply place. Also, one of the unique things about our electrohydraulic, it is the only one on the market that has an onboard logic controller. This allows us to do a lot of really unique things. When it comes to electrohydraulics, the industry's lacked a lot of feedback from the unit or ways to protect the unit from basically self-destructing. I'm pleased to tell you that the unit that we have here, because of the onboard logic controller, we've actually built in a lot of standard features with it. The first one that's standard is going to be a low fluid level alarm. It's built into the hydraulic fluid reservoir, and it's wired into the system. In the event that the hydraulic fluid were to get to a low point, it'll actually close the alarm contact and it can notify the customer that they have a low fluid situation. The next thing that we built into this unit that protects it from self-destructing is motor run protection. There's two different types of motor run protection on this unit. The first one is motor run too long. The second one is motor start too many times. Motor run too long is basically a feature that we know in the logic how long it takes for the actuator control system to open the valve. If the motor runs for 3 minutes on this particular demo unit, then what it'll do is it'll go into motor run too long protection. It'll display right here on the logic controller on the LCD display that the motor has run too long. It'll close the alarm contact and it'll notify the control room. The second one is motor start too many times. This is especially beneficial if you had a hydraulic fluid leak or the valve didn't get to a complete position. Basically what it would do is if the motor starts 6 times in 15 minutes, but your control signal hasn't changed state, it'll go into motor start too many times. Once again, it'll display right on the logic controller, motor start too many times, it'll close the alarm contact, and again, it will notify a control room. These are some great features that are built into the unit. It protects the unit, it protects you, it protects the customer. Another one is if the motor or if the unit starts but it never gets to end of travel or doesn't complete a full open close, it will notify you that also. The next feature that we have built into this is going to be the auto normal mode, which is lockable, and then the manual override. There's actually a proximity switch here. When you change the unit into manual operation, it'll say not in normal mode. It also has the ability to notify the customer's control room that it's no longer in normal operation and somebody is operating it manually or in a remote state. The next thing that I want to talk about is the optional low temp features. This unit, standard temperature is going to be from 0 to 180 degrees Fahrenheit. We also offer the unit in low temp applications. We add a 50-watt electric heater here, and we change the fluid to an aviation-based hydraulic fluid. That allows us to have a full functional temperature range of -40 up to 140 degrees, or I'm sorry, 180 degrees F. The next thing is this unit is a fully self-contained unit. One thing you can't see on here is that we have the hydraulic lines piped into both the front and the back side of the hydraulic cylinder. This gives you the ingress protection. You don't have to worry about dust and dirt and the environment getting into the back side or the vented side of the actuator. Because it's a sealed system, it also allows us to use one standard unit with a small hydraulic fluid reservoir. And the reason why is every time you stroke the actuator, the only volume that this has to hold is the volumetric displacement of the rod on the hydraulic cylinder. So that's really unique with that. This enclosure here is typically the exact same size all the way up through a 20-inch, 600-pound ball valve. If you go 24-inch and larger, the enclosure gets a little bit deeper for a larger reservoir, but the components are the same, so it allows standardization for the operator. Another feature that we have built into this unit is partial stroke test. It's a great feature if you want to prove that something works and partially stroke a valve without actually disrupting the process that it's involved in. The other thing is we are able to automate both quarter turn valves and linear valves. Quarter turn, we go up to 5.3 million inch-pounds. We go up to 750,000 inch-pounds spring ending. On the linear, we go up to 65,000 foot-pounds in linear. The same power unit can be used on both styles of actuator, both quarter turn and the linear. The next thing is going to be our standard enclosure. This enclosure here is going to be an IP66 rating. We also offer it in 68. And then also the enclosure is a NEMA 4 enclosure. We also offer in a NEMA 4X if you're in an environment where you need a composite or a stainless steel enclosure. Every unit, when it ships, on the inside of the enclosure will have the customer's wiring schematic, as well as a pouch here with the IOM. On the front of the enclosure, it's just blank. We kept it clean. We do offer an optional open-close remote switch that is wired into the logic controller. It has the ability to communicate back to the customer's control room if somebody is operating it remotely. And we also offer a liquid crystal LCD display that will essentially emulate what's on the logic controller, as well as give you the functionality for programming. This product is a zero emissions product. It also meets the new pipeline specifications 49 CFR 192 and 195. That is a specification that requires pipeline operators to have an operator sitting in a control room constantly monitoring a pipeline. In most cases, there's a lot of existing aging pipelines in the infrastructure in the United States that do not have pipeline monitoring ability, or do not have somebody actually monitoring the valves in that case. With this system, we can also add an onboard pipeline monitoring system. What this is an additional logic controller that would wire into a pressure transmitter or transducer, and it would actually monitor the high and the low of the pipeline. The customer can actually set the high-low right on the unit, and this unit has the ability to self-monitor. It also has the ability, if we are doing a solar or wind-powered unit, to be completely off-grid, no utility power, have the ability in a remote location where there's no utility power to actually monitor a pipeline and trigger its own shutdown. We program it into the unit that if it does shut down, it requires an operator to go out and interact and reset the unit. The next thing is the lead time. Paladin Americas, this product is over 95% sourced components here in the United States. Our actuator on the back is made in our own facility in Italy. Everything else is sourced in the United States, the Midwest, in states like California, Michigan, Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee. So we're really proud to support American manufacturing and utilize components made in the USA. The other thing is the lead time. With the lead times, our standard lead time on this is 3 to 4 weeks. We do offer expedite. We've done them in as little as 1 week or even a couple days if need be. But on our modulating units, your lead time is about 6 to 8 weeks typically, and then we can actually expedite those. The other thing is the price. Of all the electrohydraulics on the market, this product offers the most standard features. It offers the only scalability, and we're able to customize this to the customer's solutions, customer's request. The price of this product in most cases is 50% less than most of our competitors, and some of our closer competitors are anywhere from 15 to 20% delta. So you get the most innovative product on the market, the most standard features, the best lead time, but also the best price. And last but not least, we will customize everything that we do here. So we appreciate you watching this video. We look forward to answering questions for you. Have a wonderful day.
All right, welcome back, everybody. That was a great video by Brian, and we've got Brian on the line now. Brian, did you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right,
this
perfect.
is Brian with Paladin Americas. Thank you.
Yeah, and Brian, it was a really nice video that you put together. We really appreciate you doing that. Just one quick thing. Did you want to let us know sort of your inspiration or the real reason that kind of drove you guys to produce this product?
Sure. Really, what it boils down to is, the fail-safe. There's electric actuators that are electromechanical, and you see those typically where you have a high-speed, low-torque motor that drives a set of gears, and that electric motor actually is required to both drive a valve open or closed. What we wanted to do is address some of the issues that people had with electrohydraulics. A lot of the issues are the feedback from the unit. Also, one thing that's not in the video is we don't start and stop our motor using a limit switch because they're unreliable. We actually have a pressure transducer that's monitoring the static pressure on the hydraulic system at all times. And that's what actually starts and stops the motor. That's what tells us if the pressure drops on the system and the motor has to restart to keep in state. So what we did is we really listened to what the industry asked for, what they said that they needed, and then we went out and designed this product. So that's why the product exists, and taking it as far as an integrated pipeline monitoring system where it can be self-sustaining, no utility power in an environment where the customer doesn't have utility power, but they're required to monitor or safely shut down a pipeline.
That's great. Thanks, Brian. And I think we're going to look forward to learning even more at your presentation next week during the Automation Village breakout sessions.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm looking very forward to taking a deeper dive with everybody.
Excellent.
Great. Thanks very much. And people looking for more information can drop down to the description below. They can grab it there, or they can tune in next week and get a 40-minute presentation. So
great. Thanks a lot, Brian.
We're going to reasonably quickly transition into our next presentation, and this one will be from Omron, and that will be by Shane Gushu, who, Shane, I think we've got you on the line there if you want to come on in.
I'm here. How are you guys doing today?
We're doing very well. How are you?
Excellent. Thank you.
So I guess, again, we're virtually in Chicago, but we are actually in the same city, the three of us. Where are you located?
I'm not too far. I live in Dartmouth, so maybe about 10 minutes from the Trihedral offices.
If I lean really far, I can probably see you from my window. So Shane, we've Omron and Trihedral have had a relationship for quite a while. And in many of our engineering projects, we've actually used a lot of Omron equipment because we liked the approach to service, we liked the commitment to quality. So it's great that you could come on and join us today. So
hey, sorry guys, I think I dropped out there for a second.
Oh, no problem. We've got you back there. Your audio is coming in crystal clear right now.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Odd. Yeah. So I'm just 10 minutes away from you guys in Dartmouth.
Excellent.
Fantastic. So Shane, if you want, I think we're going to jump right into your presentation there. Well, you dropped out, Chris, and I kind of rolled up your intro there. So,
okay.
But feel free to take it away.
Yeah. Go ahead to the first slide, please.
Great. We're a little bit behind.
So I am based in Halifax. I cover Atlantic Canada for Omron, all of the Atlantic provinces, including a little piece of Quebec. Today, we wanted to invite you to our presentation next week that is focused around industrial-grade solutions for data collection and monitoring some key pieces of equipment in a predictive maintenance strategy. We will introduce you to new PLC hardware that can be installed to replace some Windows-based PCs to handle that communication to your main SCADA servers. Our PLCs can be installed alongside your existing PLC controls to help you avoid downtime and to keep costs low. If you can go to the next slide, please. So for those of you who may not be too aware of Omron, Omron is a global technology company founded in Japan in 1933. Omron as a company is comprised of several divisions, including healthcare, transportation, and also the largest part being industrial automation, which is about $4 billion in annual sales. Omron has a complete portfolio of automation technologies ranging from relays to robots and kind of just about anything in between. Hopefully, we can participate in one of your future VTScada virtual trade shows to tell you about maybe some of our other technologies like vision systems for quality control or servo solutions, maybe even some of our new electrical components for panels. If you'd
awesome.
like, we could even do maybe a collaborative robot demonstration.
Awesome.
Developing new technologies is really part of the Omron mission statement, and we've got about 12,000 patents issued and pending. You can go to the next slide. So since VTScada is very strong in the wastewater industry, we wanted to frame our example around a typical water SCADA installation. However, these same data collection technologies could be used in just about any industry. Across the bottom, you'll see the array of field devices that would then be tied into their respective PLCs. Each of those would probably be networked through a Windows-based SCADA terminal to manage that flow of data back to your main servers. This type of installation can present some cybersecurity concerns with just a large computer install base. You can go to the next slide. So built around our latest generation automation controller, the NX1, we would like to offer some solutions to help reduce your IT security concerns with our built-in OPC UA servers and built-in SQL clients, which would allow you to take some of those computers out of your SCADA network. And our NX1 unit can also help ensure that there are no gaps in your data collection with our automatic spooling feature that's built in. So gaps in data in the wastewater or water quality monitoring industry, that's critical. So in the event of communication loss between the controller, the unit itself just starts automatically spooling the data, and then once communication is restored, it would just go ahead and push that time-stamped data right back to your database. So you can go to the next slide. So since replacing your existing PLC infrastructure in most cases is just simply not possible due to many factors, including cost or standards or training, our data solution has been installed in several cases just riding shotgun with the existing controls. The NX1 controller would be installed without affecting your machine performance and just act as a data concentrator and provide that direct link via SQL database to feed your, hopefully VTScada reporting software. The NX1 is a maintenance-free piece of hardware that is not going to require any software patches or updates. And off of that controller, you can then tie in some of these new predictive maintenance monitoring devices that we'll touch on in the following slides, and you can go to the next one. So our predictive maintenance solutions are really designed to be easily installed and easily networked by just about any of the technicians in the facility. We sometimes use an analogy that's similar to these home security solutions that you would buy, like the Nest ones, versus a more complex security solution that you might get from a company like ADT. On the Nest side of things, it's easy to install. Anybody can get it up and running, and right away you're getting most of the monitoring capabilities that you want. Whereas with a more complex system, it might take specialists and might take a little bit more time and cost to get things up and running. So you can go to the next slide. We will be introducing you to our new generation of power supplies that have a built-in Ethernet port for status monitoring. We'll also be showing you some new motor control monitoring units that can look for changes in vibration or temperature, changes regarding current and insulation. And then finally, we'll talk about some new thermal cameras to help you avoid kind of unexpected fires or thermal changes inside of your electrical panels. So all of these could be networked back through our NX1 controller to help share all of that data back with your data historian. And you can go to the last slide, please. So our demo that we're going to do next week with our application specialist, Pierre Archambault, will show the simple setup process for building connectivity to an SQL database through the controller. And it'll show live condition monitoring of a electric motor, looking at changes in vibration and temperature. We'll show a visualization of thermal conditions inside of an electrical panel, as well as show you some real-time feedback from a 24-volt power supply. We'd like to show the ease of setup, some of the different options we have for HMI user interfaces for this system, as well as the back-end data connectivity options that we have through our Omron technologies. So we hope you can join us next week. And that's it.
That's great. Well done. So tell us about how this technology, you talk about no software updates. Tell us how this, the process through which this technology ages. Tell us how you support that through time.
Sure. So anyone that's used any Windows-based PC will be familiar with having to do software updates or patches periodically as the software itself gets added to by the developers. PLCs, programmable logic controllers themselves are typically a hardware device. Once it's installed, it functions as it was built and does not require updates over time. So once it's in the cabinet doing its thing, that should be the last time you touch it.
That's great. So you covered a lot of the things that we're going to talk about in the presentation. Now you offer a very wide variety of things. What are some of the things you might talk about in a future presentation?
Yeah, so Omron has just a ton of technologies. We've got really neat demos built around traceability. If anyone is looking for solutions to help them kind of watch their processes from start to finish, we've got nice solutions around robotics or quality control using some of our vision solutions. As far as automation is concerned, we've got pretty much everything covered, and for the most part, about 90% of all products that we have in our portfolio, they're all manufactured and developed by Omron.
That's great. Anything else, Dave?
Cool. No, I just wanted to note that I've seen a lot of interesting stuff from that Shane shared through his LinkedIn page that Omron's doing and Shane's doing. Some of the pick and place robot demos and other things. So if you guys ever see Omron at a trade show, check out their booth because they do often have a lot of cool stuff. And the recent one that I saw was a local agricultural trade show, and I think you had pick and place doing some sorting of apples. That was very cool.
Yeah, that was fun. That was actually something that I programmed myself, and I'm certainly not a robotics technician. So those types of robots are easy for just about anybody to get started.
Well, it was very cool. You look like you're well on your way to programming your Skynet.
Don't say Skynet on the internet. They can hear you.
You just can't say it too many times or you're signing
Right. 3 times. Well, that's great. Thanks, Shane. It was great talking to you. Great presentation. We'll see you next week.
Excellent.
Well, thanks very much, Shane. Appreciate you joining us.
Pleasure. Take care.
Cool. So next up is our second giveaway time. So Chris, I'll let you take this one and give out the secret code.
The secret code is, if you have your email open and addressed to natasha.lutz@trihedral.com, less code space, less space coding space, more space features. Type it in exactly as it is because a machine will choose it based on whether you spelled it correctly. And send that to Natasha. And good luck to all of you. And of course, read all those rules and regulations linked below.
That's right. And so this is the exact production of that code is part of the skill testing question. Yes. So right. I think actually we're going to go to a video by Dan Naughton right now.
Excellent.
So Dan's our Chicago sales guy. Dan's been with us for a few years now.
This time we will be leaving the city and heading out into the suburbs where I live. A word of caution. The traffic in Chicago can be quite bad at times, so whenever possible, I recommend using our trains. Chicago's CTA system runs throughout the city and has various color designations. For example, the Blue Line runs from downtown all the way out to O'Hare. But to get out to the suburbs, I would recommend taking the Metro lines. I tell people that I live in Chicago, but I don't. I live in Buffalo Grove, about 35 miles northwest of downtown, about 15 miles north of Chicago's O'Hare Airport. You might ask, what is there to do out in the suburbs? Well, with this current COVID crisis, the answer is not much. Recently, I've taken up the hobby of sidewalk chalk art. Every morning I draw something on the curb, and now I have a loyal following of little children on their walks. Well, let's take a look and see what we have outside today. The first one is, of course, Garfield and Odie. All the kids got this one. The next one, Lilo and Stitch. Now, one of the dads thought that was Sonic the Hedgehog. Next one, of course, is Marvin Martian from Looney Tunes. I like him. And my son got into Michigan State, so this one was done in his honor, of course. And the next one, everyone knows these guys, Roadrunner and Coyote. The next one, only the dads got this, Yogi and Boo Boo. I guess I'm getting old. And I'm getting even older. Rocky and Bullwinkle, nobody got this, not even the dads. And the last one, of course, is Mike and Sully from Monsters, Inc. Everyone got that one. What else do we do out here in the suburbs? Well, we play a lot of beanbags and we have a lot of tournaments. That's my neighbor Steve. He sets up the brackets and the teams based on rankings. And this is me probably losing again. Well, that's all for now. Thank you for joining me out here in the suburbs, and I will let you rejoin the trade show.
All right, thanks very much for that, Dan. We'll be next bringing in Alan Hudson. Alan's the U.S. sales manager, and Alan and I are going to do a quick talk in a little bit. Alan, feel free to unmute yourself there and come into the conversation whenever you're ready here. So Alan and I are going to do a little bit of a VTScada demo, but before that, we're going to do a quick intro to what's coming up in the next hour.
Backtrack.
I'm just going to jump backwards in time slightly. And here we go.
There we go.
Okay, so coming up in the next hour will be Hosted SCADA with Kennedy Industries. And Alan, did you want to take the next one?
Absolutely. I'd be glad to.
Wonderful.
So on the cybersecurity part, you mean?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, there we go. Yeah. So one of the things that is so critical in our world today is having the cybersecurity part covered. And within VTScada, there's obviously a lot of different ways to do that, but there are also a lot of external resources. And so we're really looking forward to that one from GuidePoint Security today.
Right, and then after that will be responsive reporting. And again, this is basically just covering the next hour. There'll be an hour after that will have another 4 presentations. So we'll go to those and we'll let you know what's coming up there as we hit the top of that hour. So Alan, you and I are going to talk a little bit about VTScada and some of the integrated features. So I'm going to attempt to jump in and start sharing my computer here.
Okay.
All right, I'll drop my Skype out here. And Alan, are you able to see my computer all right?
I can see it just fine right here,
All
yes.
right, I got you up in the corner there. That's all right. Okay, so basically we're talking about some of the benefits of having an integrated platform. And I thought I would sort of introduce this by bringing up a completely blank app. So all I did was to save a little bit of time for today. I started a new application before before we actually went into the screen share here, so you didn't have to wait through that. So basically what I thought we might do is talk through some of the items that, brand new application, opened up the settings box, and we've got things like all of the properties here for controlling alarms and different things. We can do all kinds of stuff with the built-in speech synthesis and the alarm settings. We can do historical data settings because it is fully integrated. The historian is part of the product. The alarm dialer, the alarm management, all the ISA 18.2 stuff is part of the product, as well as the integration on the display, not only for what you're looking at the HMI, but even what you're looking at through thin clients and other things. So the web server and everything is all part of the product.
And Dave, let me just interrupt just for a second. That really is a critical thing you just said there. And I didn't realize how quickly I glossed over that sometime because I'm so used to it. But I was giving a presentation yesterday over GoToMeeting. Actually, it was over Zoom, I think. It was a consulting engineer, an end user, and a system integrator all together on a call. The integrator knew VTScada already. And I'm doing just what you're doing right here. And I take those things for granted by showing the product, which, by the way, is what we do all the time anyway. And as I was showing our historical data viewing and showing how that configuration is done automatically, the integrator stopped me and pointed out to this consultant and end user that it was really critical what we had just done and the fact that it took zero amount of configuration on his part. And he correlated that into dollars he saves because it is, his words were, it's included and fully baked into the product. Right. So, I didn't want to get too far off of that, but it is pretty critical and very unique that we have so many things built in as checkboxes and not requiring scripting or other configurations. It's just a checkbox. So again, it speeds up things. It reduces errors and issues later on down the path. It also provides for cost savings. So with that being said, Dave, I'm sorry. Get back into it. I'm so excited about what you're doing.
No, thanks very much, Alan. And you brought up a point. I had a system integrator not that long ago tell me that he was going with a major brand of PLC, and the customer had requested to use the SCADA software by that PLC manufacturer. And so he met that requirement, but as an addendum, sent in an alternate to go with VTScada, and he said it cut his development time in half. Wow. In that proposal. So to what you said, it's very true. So I just thought we'd jump down. So when we come into different things, like people talk about redundancy and hot redundancy, cold redundancy, or synchronization, right. And what you're looking at there. And I just wanted to show you, if I wanted to add this to a server to be accessed by a group of clients, then this is my computer name here. And if I do this and hit apply, then I've actually just done that. I've set up the primary server, and if I said this and hit the plus here, it's not a real computer, so I'm not going to do it because I'm already streaming enough bandwidth. I don't need this thing to go out and start searching for a computer that doesn't exist. But if I were to add that, then that computer running the same application would be a full backup for all of the different services, and each of the services is broken out individually. So you can mix and manage what computers are responsible for what services. So it can be a very cool, very powerful thing.
And there is no limit to number of synchronized redundant servers, is there?
There is not, and how you manage that, they say the limit ultimately almost inevitably becomes down to network management. And how much data you want to be passing. So if you're polling 500,000 I/O on one server, then your polling rate is either going to be very low, or you're going to start running into huge network bandwidths. So what you're going to want to do is to divide that into two servers that are going out to different groups of PLCs and are the primary servers for each of those, and then have those on another network to do the RPC traffic between them. So like I say, it's very powerful, very flexible, and very, very easy to set up. Yeah. If I wanted to get into some of those advanced modes, I just click into advanced and I can start picking the services.
Fantastic. And I've found, Dave, that over time, the IT world and the OT world try to stay separated, and have their own domains, if you will. And we've made that so easy that the IT guys love what's going on the OT side, and the OT guys are no longer threatened by the IT. So it really has pulled that together in a really cool way.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to show the security because I don't have this app secured, but I do have another one that has security in it. So I'm going to jump back to this in a little bit. Languages. You can set up different languages for your, and so you can see I've got English and French set up kind of as defaults, but we can go through and we can just pick. So if an operator prefers one language or another, then they can have the same displays shown in either language, and you can even have somebody sort of temporarily switch those languages. So somebody comes in, they can see whatever it is in the language of their choice. Now, we've got right now a very basic sort of set of languages. In most of the development, you'll have to put in the information for the languages, but like I say, it's there, it's part of it, it's built in, so it's integrated in the Idea Studio and other things, and you can actually be prompted anytime you enter a string to translate that string into all of the languages for your application.
So I'm in Birmingham, Alabama. I could actually have a language for redneck, I guess, right?
Yeah, so we could both do redneck and Newfoundlander in the same
There
app.
we go. I love it.
They would look very different. So next up is the change sets. Again, this is all about application distribution. We have a whole bunch of different ways of doing it. The change set is a small file. This is great for people who have very protected networks. If they don't want their system integrator actually going into their network and interfacing directly with the computer they want to work on, they can do the work either on site on its computer that's part of a different network or whatever, and then they just bring this one file across, be it through email or whatever else, and then they can apply that to make the changes. So we've also got the idea of exporting and syncing tags. And I should note that a new feature in VTScada for Allen Bradley PLCs is not to just do the tags in the software, but is to actually import tags from one of the PLCs itself, which can save an absolute huge amount of time in setting tags up. Did you have anything to add there, Alan, or did you want to? I don't mind chasing.
I was just saying, a lot of times when I do a demo, what I will do is connect in. We have that Control Logics PLC in our office in Bedford, and so I'll just come in with our VPN, connect in directly, and within about 3 seconds or so of pulling up my tag browser in the import function, I now have all 5,000 tags available to me, and I'll go take one of those function blocks, like a DFB, coming in like for an alarm point, for example. Click on that, and next thing you know, we have 100 and some odd tags that have come in, filled in the blanks, and now we're ready to rock and roll. So it really is all a matter of how do you make life quicker, easier, more sustainable, and for the future, we're able to continue on as technology continues. So it's really a phenomenal feature.
Yeah, it's very cool. So I'm going to skip through some of these things like tag types and other things. There's a little bit more advanced features, but I did want to jump right down here to the show version log. Like I said, it's a brand new app. I really haven't done anything. It's just the logged off user has come in and out and set the name for the application. So like I say, a brand new application. But what's really cool about this is as I make changes, I get a full version log of everything I've done. If it's the Idea Studio, something else, and I can go in and I can see the details. I can see exactly what's being changed. So I can see that Workstation 1 was added as you just saw. I set that up as a server and then took it out. So that's going in. So next up, let's just jump over to the tag browser here. So again, I haven't added any tags, but you see the system historian is already here. We've got style tags. We've got pre-configured alarm priorities. We've got some pre-configured menu items and different types of things here where we even have site maps and map pages and other things so that if I add a context, put in a lat long, then that can actually come up as a site, be it a lift station or whatever. So next up, I just want to jump over to another app here. And you get my lovely moon in the background for this one because it's not set up as a full screen. So this is an app that's got a little bit more information in it. It's something that I just fired up today. All it does is show the weather. So it's a very simple app, but without having to do anything other than adding the IO tags to which we noted, you could basically just import. And in this case, if I wanted to go into one of these IO tags, I can just drop down here and let's grab the cloud cover just as a point of interest. And if I go into the properties, look at the IO here, you see this ... I can click this and I can actually see all of the tags in this JSON file that I'm polling to get the weather data. So like I say, it's very cool. It's very easy. It's very good. So not only that, but if I wanted to look at the wind, so I can see that I've got, well, let's look at the wind direction. That looks like it may be a little bit variable. I can simply click into one of these. And because the historian is integrated, by adding that IO, I've got the connection and I've got all of these built-in tools. So let's just look at the last hour and you can see the wind kind of varying a little bit here through the day. And it does make sense because I could see it blowing down the lake behind me. So 3.1 meters per second doesn't sound very fast, but it's actually fairly windy today. So I think about 25 meters per second is 100 kilometers an hour. So,
wow. Yeah.
So
that's pretty cool. I love the way you've done that. I think that's one of the terms they've used is data scraping, being able to grab data and pull it into VTScada that may not be part of the normal SCADA software. The SCADA devices maybe is the way to say that. And so from an operational standpoint, being able to grab not only what's in my plant or in my remote sites, but also looking at the environment around it. Now, all of a sudden, you've made this a really smart, I'll just say, system and able to look at that in an overall management perspective. What a great thing you've shown there, Dave. That's neat.
Yeah, so I mean, like I say, this is a very quick, very high-level demo. If you want to learn more about it, I really recommend that you give the software a try. Like I say, as I'm just using JSON for the weather. You can get this. I'm pulling my data from Open Weather Map, but USGS or Environment Canada both put make data available, be it in JSON or XML formats. So, I mean, it's really easy, even if you don't have I/O, to go in and try something like this to set up your app. And this is using built-in tools, although I did import the icons here into the Idea Studio just by sort of dragging and dropping those pictures in. So, Alan, we're coming right to the end of the presentation here. Did you have anything that you wanted to kind of close things out with before Chris grabs the
you've got real fast, and that is you've gone through a lot of different things here. I would encourage people to go to our website, and under our resources, we have at the very bottom is video tutorials, like 35 or some odd of those. I would encourage you to go look at those. Watch those videos and see how to use VTScada. Download the free version and enjoy playing with it.
All right, fantastic. So thanks very much, Alan. I appreciate you joining us today. Next up, we're going to go back to Chris, who's going to grab the screen from me.
Great. Oh, no, you can see how the sausages are made. Doop-de-doo. There we go. And we should be back up and running.
And on the line, Ben, feel free to unmute yourself. We've got Ben from Kennedy Industries, who's going to talk to us a bit about Cloud SCADA.
Hey, Ben, how you doing today?
Ben, we can see you talking and we can see you unmuted, but we can't actually hear you right now. Do you mind just dropping out and coming back in really quick? So Ben's actually been a customer for quite a long time, haven't they, Chris?
It's true. Their application, their hosted application that they're going to talk about today is about 10 years old. So even though we're going to talk about, we tend to talk about hosted solutions in terms of there being this emerging technology, it's been around for quite a while and has quite a track record. So their application is a hosted system. They host their own servers they're quite amazing. Ben can tell you himself, he offers tours of his server farms. They are so beautiful and well set up. Hey, Ben, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me now?
Oh, you sound great.
Perfect.
Oh, much better. Thank you.
Thanks for that's the joy and pain of live television on the internet. So we were just talking about our long and relationship with Kennedy. So you've been using us for about 10 years, is that right?
Yeah, 10 years now we've been using VTScada. It's been a long and fun ride, and we love your support. And I would put your technical support up against any other software package, hardware package. Is amazing. It's one of the top reasons why we continue to promote VTScada in Michigan.
I'm glad to hear that. So why don't we jump right in here? You're going to tell us about. Now, I didn't know this. I've been aware of this application for a long time, but I didn't really realize it began with Michigan Department of Transportation. You know what? We've had a bit of fun. One of my computers just crashed. Dave and Ben, why don't you chat? Talk amongst yourselves.
Right. So Ben, why don't you tell us a little bit about, you've talked before about sort of your introduction and bringing people into the cloud system, because it's a big paradigm shift for a lot of people they've had things local, they've had them running. We see a lot of XP boxes and stuff out there that have been, sitting where they sit. They're maybe behind a locked door, and bringing that out to somebody and saying, you look after it. To some people, it's a sigh of relief. To other people, it's sort of maybe it makes their hair stand up a little bit. So what are some of the things that people that you deal with often work through?
Yeah, the idea of Cloud SCADA was new, I believe, in 2010. And one of the things that Kennedy Industries noticed early on is the support that communities, municipalities, water plants, wastewater plants, the support they were receiving from their IT team, from integrators for SCADA systems that are traditionally installed at their plants, at their stations, was very, very poor. And we came up with the idea of doing hosted Cloud SCADA around the idea of really paying attention to customer needs, paying attention to their concerns, And with a lot of our research, we found that municipalities, operations teams, they couldn't really afford to put in a high quality SCADA system. And not only putting in the system was painful, it was maintaining it. So the idea of a hosted SCADA system where Kennedy Industries manages multiple data centers, and we provide a service to our customers where we are part of your team. So if you were to take 10 communities that wanted to put in 10 brand new SCADA systems, you're looking at $500 to $1 million, right, across all these communities. So for us, for our target market, we said, hey, let's us, Kennedy Industries, build these data centers. We'll put together a support team, an integration team, and let's offer value for a SCADA system to municipalities at a very competitive price. At the time, alarm dialers were very common, Sensophones, Racos, and we were able to get to a price point that was almost as low as a standard alarm dialer, and now we're providing full SCADA to communities.
Right.
So that was the idea behind it.
That's really great. So we've got everything set up. We're back on with the share and everything else. So if you want to take just a couple minutes out of your the speed that you were going to do your presentation, we'll let you start off and really run into it.
Okay. I don't see a screen up. What screen's up right now?
We've got the 150 stormwater stations with KISM.
Okay, perfect. So a little bit of background on this conversation is this is about an 8-minute conversation right now. And I'm really looking to promote to systems integrators the idea of targeting some DOTs in your area. Traditionally, our company reaches out to wastewater plants, water plants, collection systems, water systems. But this was a really nice project for us. And there's many DOTs across the United States. And this in 2018, the reason why this is an important project to our controls team, in our 60-year history of Kennedy Industries, this ended up being the single largest order at the time for Kennedy Industries in 60 years. It ended up being a very large win for our controls team, a very large win for Mdot. So I kind of want to spark some ideas with some other controls integrators, systems integrators who are looking at this presentation and really join the next week's breakout sessions, because I will have a 1-hour presentation going into further details on this Mdot project. Can you go into the next screen, Chris? Let me know when it's on the next screen there. Okay. So really quickly, really shortly, I kind of want to go into the background info of Mdot, the reasons why they were looking to get SCADA and how we can help them, and then why VTScada, and then a couple other items. But I'll get started with a little bit of background information. Traditionally, DOTs, specifically Mdot, they have a lot of highway flooding. It's a big problem for Mdot, a big problem for Michigan. It gets so bad where we have some areas, some valleys, some dips on the highways where the roads are completely flooded. DOT personnel, they don't know about the problem until it's on the news, until it's on ABC News, Fox, the police get called. And it's so bad in Michigan that people are dying. So people are taking their vehicles, they see the flooding, they think that they can actually drive through the water, and people are driving through it, they're getting stuck, and they're drowning because they're not paying attention to the water level and not paying attention to the risk. So this is a huge problem for Mdot. In 2010, they reached out to us, Kennedy Industries, and they said, hey, we're looking to do SCADA. We heard that you guys are looking into a SCADA cloud platform. The DOTs, they did not have the money or the SCADA experience to put together their own data centers. They had 4 people traveling all across Michigan, operations guys traveling all across Michigan, checking the stations once every month, once every 2 months. And it was really painful for them because they didn't know when there was a problem. The only time they would know is when they would do a site visit or get on the news. So they reached out to us, and we built a SCADA system dedicated for pretty much Mdot. And I'll go into the next topic here, why VTScada. The reason why VTScada was selected, I don't know if systems integrators out there have started looking into this feature or looking into it, but the idea about realming is what stuck out to us. Many software packages at the time didn't even do thin clients very well, meaning thin clients, you need a server, a computer, doing things for each server, each computer. But what Trihedral brought to market 10 years ago was this idea about realming. And as a systems integrator, the reason why this is important as a systems integrator, this keeps your costs extremely low, okay? And the reason why this is important is we had the idea of taking this cloud-hosted product and scaling up and adding multiple customers, multiple sites, to the point now it's 10 years later, we have over 50 clients that are on our system, over 500 sites across our system. And realming allows us to achieve this on our end, on the systems integrator end, at a very low cost. I don't know, Chris, did you guys get into realming at all? Do you want me to go into it a little bit? I saw that you guys did some product features.
Absolutely.
Okay, so the reason why realming was good for us is Trihedral allows you to build a software application, and you can have one server, one application, one executable, one system to manage, and within the software, you can separate different customers safely, securely, with different web portals, websites. Makes it really easy to separate your clients. And keeping costs low, this allowed us to build at the very beginning one server, one application, one Trihedral license, not multiple Trihedral licenses, with their realming, their internet clients. And it allows us to put many customers onto one application, one executable, one application, and allowed us to scale up, keep our costs really low, but still bring in additional revenue from these new customers. Now, it looks like I have about 1 minute left, and I have a sales strategy, project challenges, project completion. Again, this is sparking interest, hopefully, for people to join us next week in our 1 hour presentation on Mdot, hosted SCADA systems, and so on. But our sales strategy, I'll leave that hopefully as something that sparks some interest to join next week. Some project challenges on the Trihedral side realming was a big one. We were able to achieve realming for the different teams across the maintenance teams for Mdot. So they have a Wayne County area, maintenance personnel. They have an Oakland County area, different counties, and they have another region that takes care of outside of Metro Detroit. So a lot of software-specific unique features about VTScada allowed us to get through a lot of project challenges. So it looks like I have about 30 seconds left here.
Actually, you're doing fine, Ben. We have a little bit of flexibility built in, and you're doing so well.
Okay.
So I will say these articles that you have up here are on LinkedIn, and I really recommend that people go have a look at them. They're great.
Yeah. So do you have that third slide up right now?
Yes, I do. With the 3 articles.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. So if you're interested to learn more, go check out our Kennedy Industries project report. It's on our Kennedy website. The link is shown below. It'll talk about a lot about the pain points of Mdot, a lot of value that they see in the VTScada software and the hosted solution. There's a video on there that's really allows you to see more of the value, the operations faces, how much they like the system. And that's the ABC News report. That link there. So yeah, please feel free to look at those documents. Also, please feel free to reach out to me. If you go look at our page, we have a highlighted section on the VTScada website. Reach out to me and let me know how we can help. We love to help other systems integrators approach their DOTs and really see the success that we've had in Michigan.
That's great, Ben. You're a great presenter. Thank you for rolling with all those punches. That was great.
Yeah, no worries.
Thanks very much, Ben. Now, you talked about the realm filtering, and that's kind of a term that I think we use at Trihedral and VTScada for sort of containerizing things, and it's actually used for a whole bunch of different things other than what Ben's mentioning. I think a lot of people in the IT audience maybe hearing realm filter airing and hearing what Ben's doing with it, and it's I think multi-tenant is kind of the more IT centric term for realm filtering. So but we use it for a lot of different things, whether it's to reserve clients for management or to reserve certain areas and privileges of an app for certain groups coming in through thin clients, or whether it's to have, like say, as a multi-tenanted app where you have one large app that's divided out in many places. Also, for our big customers, if you're looking at a cloud project, please talk to your sales guy, because there's a lot of special pricing when it comes to these hosted systems in sort of how things are divided up within clients and other things. So there is a lot there.
I have another question. So I actually know the answer, but I don't know if you had a chance to talk about this yet, Ben, but I know that you've got your cloud-based system. You also have customers who have traditional on-site SCADA systems. Tell us about the sort of in-between or both option of a blended system.
Yeah, so in 2010, 2011, we had a customer that liked the idea of the cloud system, but was a little bit concerned if their internet goes down, if the internet in general goes down, or data centers have problems. I think we were one of the first customers to promote what we call a hybrid approach. And I've seen some marketing material on the VTScada side, and I think I saw a lot of the term called the mothership. What ends up happening is you end up using VTScada licenses in our multiple data centers. So we have multiple data centers, multiple runtime licenses. And then in addition, to provide peace of mind to the IT team, to the customer, to the city manager, is you also take the same VTScada license and you install it on a server at a customer location. And we've dealt this with big cities in Michigan. Ypsilanti is one of them. City of Battle Creek is another. City of Marshall. Very big cities, big operations, big wastewater plants. And the IT people, they love it. The reason why they love it is we take on the work to maintain that server. So all IT people need to do, light up a virtual machine. We set up a VPN to that server. And outside of keeping Windows up to date, we manage all the SCADA side for their operations. And we've received multiple compliments from IT directors, from Battle Creek, from Ypsilanti, that they don't want to take care of SCADA. They love it when an integrator comes in and they say, hey, we will take care of your SCADA. We'll be your 24/7 support team. Here's all of our phone numbers. Anytime there's an issue, we're already aware of it. We're on it. We're working on it. We've had issues where Ypsilanti, their on-site server actually went down, and we notified them Monday morning and said, hey, we noticed your server went down. This is the problems. It's on the IT side. It's your end. Their operations didn't even realize there was a problem. So for the whole weekend, they were working on our cloud, both of our data centers. Their on-site server was down, and they were extremely happy. So the idea of what we call hybrid, or the mothership approach, has been a very valuable sales tool for our team here at Kennedy Industries to win projects.
Excellent. Thanks, Ben. That's you've used that time very effectively. Thanks for joining us, and I hope it's sunny where you are.
Well, yeah, thanks very much, Ben. We appreciate you joining us today, and we look forward to hearing more next week.
All right, have a great day, everybody. Bye.
Thanks, Ben.
Goodbye.
Giveaway.
Okay, contest time. So this is the next thing. As before, a $100 online shopping voucher could be yours if you can email Natasha Lutz or natasha.lutz@trihedral.com with the subject line "Instantly Intuitive Software," exactly like you see it on the screen. So this is the skill testing challenge that is involved in making this contest. So exactly like it is on the screen, a computer will decide whether or not you've won.
Excellent. And now, next up, we have Nick Croucher. He's the senior security engineer with GuidePoint Security. Nick, if you're there, you can unmute your microphone. So while he's doing that, I guess he's going to be talking about elevating cybersecurity. And of course, when we talk about cloud-based systems, cybersecurity is one of the top priorities. Are you there, Nick?
So Nick, we can see that you've got yourself unmuted, but we're not able to hear you right now. It's you just went in and out of mute there. If you believe the audio should be working, just jump out and jump back into the call, and we'll see if that will sort the problem.
In the meanwhile, I think we've had a number of presentations that touch on the topic of cybersecurity, and I guess Nick is going to talk about some full system solution.
Yeah, it's certainly something that we hear a lot about right now. Cybersecurity, and we're seeing, looking online and other things, that people are being, the customers, SCADA customers are really major targets for cybersecurity and people who are trying to infiltrate systems. So, Nick, do we have you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, great.
Yeah,
all
perfect.
right.
Thank you.
So, where are you calling from today, Nick?
I'm in Greensboro, North Carolina.
Excellent. Well, welcome to the program. We'll just jump right into your presentation if that's okay with you.
Yep, perfect.
Excellent. Just say next when you need me to go next.
All right. All right. So welcome, and thank you for the opportunity to express a little bit about what security orchestration, automation, and response is. I say uplifting security operations. It's essentially giving us more information and to automate and orchestrate some of these remedial tasks that our analysts will sometimes undergo. Key audience for this talk will mostly be upper management in IT, and of course your security operations center. Some of these operation centers are either managed or you may even have some analysts in-house that handle your alert threats. You can start the next slide. So security operations is the focal point of all cybersecurity alerts and functions, and it's the first point of contact for any security alert or breach. It can be loosely compared to air traffic control. I sometimes use that analogy, making sure that all the notifications are being monitored and alerted on with responders on hand to mitigate risk in a timely manner. As with air traffic control, the Security Operations Center will need to access all the data in order to correlate all the information into meaningful alerts and warnings. An example there would be, knowing the wind direction and speed, as well as any other weather conditions, time of day, model of the plane, name and reputation of the pilot, how well did he sleep the night before, that kind of thing. It gives the controller ample information to assess any risk and safely guide the plane to the ground. In the Security Operations Center, or SOC, we'll rely on this data to make informed decisions to prevent nefarious actors from infiltrating, corporate assets, information, personally identifiable information, and corporate trade secrets, that kind of thing. It's important to have as much information on hand as possible. The data is ingested into a security incident and event monitoring system. You may be familiar with the SIM tool. This is a SOC analyst's main go-to tool for analyzing. This tool is designed to assist with correlating the data and providing meaningful alerts and reporting and tracking, that kind of thing. The data comes from many different sources, servers, workstations, applications, firewalls, websites, that kind of thing. And the data is ingested in the form of logs, syslog, Windows logs, event logs, things like that. The SOC will be the first to know about any potential threat, and they have a response plan to mitigate these risks. Some risk could be phishing, email, or more elaborate multi-tiered action put in place by nefarious infiltrator. These actions are what is commonly referred to as the attack lifecycle. So you'll go, start to finish. Sometimes the actual attack can take place over several months, and it's part of the goal to limit the attacker's time to compromise over the enterprise. So knowing that there's an attack in place, recognizing at which point of the attack life cycle that threat has reached, and eliminating the risk based on an effectively timely response, it's the absolute key to mitigating cyber risk. This is where the threat, this is where the security orchestration piece comes in. It'll be significant. It'll take a significant role in preventing and quickly responding to nefarious activity, ultimately to protect your company. Move to the next slide. So, going through all the portions of what a Soar is. So your security piece, obviously this is worth emphasizing. What can we do to protect our corporate assets, our data, and our reputation? So even though that's a given, it's worth making that statement. Going on to orchestration, for this piece, what the tool does is connect with every data source and combines it all under one fully functional toolbox. I'll use another analogy here for this. I'll compare it to a toolbox, right? So you take care of some of the tasks. Sometimes my wife gives me a honey-do list on a Saturday morning. I'm going to make sure that every tool I need to do these tasks are in that toolbox, so I can get all my tasks done more efficiently and have some time to watch the ball game later that day. I'm a huge Chicago Cubs fan, so go Cubbies. So some of these tools include email as an example. So some corporations will receive millions of spam and phishing emails every day. Orchestration will bring all these emails into one place to allow the creation of an action plan to alert and even respond to these threats. And then moving on to automation. So playbooks are an important aspect of any security operations center. Essentially, a playbook is designing a map of actions from start to finish to streamline your detection and response plan. So I'll give you an example here. An alert comes in to say that there are 20 attempts made to log into an account. This account belongs to Susan Brown in a matter of this, and all this, these attempts are made within 30 seconds. Well, that's a medium alert. Then there's another alert comes in and says that on the 31st attempt, that was successful, and that was 5 minutes later. Then there's another alert that comes in to say that Susan authenticated successfully locally in Chicago, but's making network connections in Cape Town, South Africa. So that severity then is raised, which requires someone to take a look into it a little further. So we dispatch a technician then to get in touch with Susan Brown, check her login activity, make sure that her laptop is safe. All this information is correlated into the system via the orchestration piece. But now the human analyst, let's call him Jack, has taken about an hour investigating all this activity, and he's manually responding to all the aspects of this possible attack. So as he's doing his investigation, you can see that there's a lot of time taken, and you get several thousands of alerts on a daily basis. But with automation, all this manual activity can be eliminated, cutting off several hours from this one 3 to 5 alert segment. So automating your playbook is a huge time saver. And then moving on to response. So automating responses is also pivotal. Your detection, you can detect any type of threat vector at any stage of the attack lifecycle. Soar will provide case management dashboards to export for any interested party. You can do some processing. You get an alert, you can send emails, you can automate all that information. Many corporations will subscribe to threat intelligence. This is basically intelligence collected based on industry or overall. And the threat intelligence brings in known indicators of compromise and usually consists of a known list of, like IP addresses and website URLs that have a history of the bad guys. This threat information can then be further used to enrich some of these alerts that you see on a daily basis and to create automated responses around this. All right, we'll move on to the next slide.
Great, 2 minutes.
Okay. So real quick, I just want to give you a general, now that I've talked about what the actual tool is, give you a general threat evaluation guideline on how to use Soar. So first and foremost, you want to take a threat-centric approach, right? So ensuring you're not running, from alert to alert, losing context. You want to basically stick to an overall threat and respond to what those threats are. You can avoid whack-a-mole and alert fatigue doing that. Then communication. So this is really important. Many organizations don't have something written down, so it's crucial to have a plan to work from. You need to have your playbook already configured. You don't want to try to process this by doing every single rule and alert. You want to go back and do that take a threat-centric approach. Then automation and orchestration, being self-explanatory. It may take some time. You want to let your analysts do the decision making, go through the process they typically go through, and then over time you can automate some of those actions and actually save time. Communication underpins all of this. How to ensure everyone is tracking what's going on. For senior management, develop a self-service model so that you don't disrupt your incident with questions like, where are we at? You can automate your status reports and get them at intervals when they require the responses to be processed. And finally, tracking and measuring everything you do in the SOC. This analogy here is checking the game footage. You want to, let's say, for instance, Ryan Sandberg's in a slump. Go back and check the video recording, see how he's responding to different pitch types, make some adjustments, and next week you'll be hitting home runs again. So you can actually see all the action plays that are going on in your Soar product and make adjustments as needed. So that pretty much sums it all up.
That's great. So just in a few moments, we've got a few seconds left. What are you going to do at the breakout sessions next week? What are people going to see?
Well, we'll talk a little bit about security orchestration automation, that how that layers on top of the actual operations piece. It's sometimes it's a juggling match for analysts to bounce around from alert to alert. There's a lot that we can do nowadays, cloud platforms, on-prem platforms, combining the two, getting all the data into one place and being able to take actionable alerts and results and save time.
That's great. Well, thank you so much, Nick. Great job. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Nick.
See you next week. All right, moving right along.
Yes.
We are going to move right away into Peter Caparellian, who is the co-founder and CTO of SciTech. Hi, Peter. Are you there?
Peter, it looks like you've got your microphone muted there. So if you are able to unmute yourself by clicking the little microphone icon.
Yes.
Perfect. There we are. Great.
Good morning, everyone. Yeah, very good. How about yourself?
Great. Yeah,
doing very well, thank you. Yeah.
I don't want to say it's been going well because that makes me uncomfortable in the middle of the live stream.
All right.
So where are you calling from today, Peter?
Sunny Massachusetts.
Nice.
Oh, very nice.
So you live near and have contact with our salesperson in Boston. In fact, I think you know them quite well.
I have known them for over 20 years.
That's Tim Donaldson, of course.
Tim Donaldson, yes.
And we were fortunate enough to have him now. So why don't we've got a lot to cover today, Peter. Why don't we just move right into it? I'll advance to the first slide and let you take it from there.
Okay. It looks like you've jumped to slide number 4 there.
Oh dear, have I made a cut and paste error? I apologize.
Well, anyway, let me just go over. Okay, I can take it from here. So, slide 1 was going to tell you that we're going to talk about reporting and how we can create reports and dashboards from VTScada. And then slide 2 was going to tell us that VTScada and ourselves were partners in 2017, and that today's topic is about Excel Reporter version 14. And now this slide.
Thank you for covering that. Well done.
So what's Excel Reporter about? Well, it's usually an on-premise reporting solution implemented by system integrators, personnel at the facility itself. And it will produce reports and dashboards from the VT SCADA data together with other things. The subtext to Excel Reporter is if you know Excel, you know Excel Reporter. And we're going to revisit that because we're probably one of the few products in industry that are able to produce workbooks, PDF, and web pages without needing a copy of Microsoft Excel, but be able to produce that from workbooks. Next. So very briefly, what is reporting? Here are a few samples of Excel reporters' capability in water treatment, wastewater treatment. We've got the MOR, we've got regulatory reports, we've got the operating reports. Those reports are predominantly found on the state's website in Excel format. And that is one key benefit that Excel Reporter is going to give you. You can take that Excel file and you can import it directly into our product. Moving on from there, we have food and beverage, where we have to create an FDA report for the cleaning process, overall equipment efficiency for production facilities, alarm management, specifically the ISA 18.2 compliance, batch management. As you can see, it's an endless list of capability that Excel Reporter can provide you. Next. So I'm going to go over two implementations of Excel Reporter. One's from live. Next. So from live data, Excel Reporter's tapping in on the current values inside the VTScada real-time, or OPC or OPC UA. And what it will do is it will incrementally feed a report over a period of time. So for instance, you create a daily report and you feed it hourly information, or you create a batch report and you feed it information while the batch is executing. This can happen on time or event. When the report's finished, we create a new one. Meanwhile, the current one could be published on time or event via email. It could be published to a printer, say. The other thing that we could do is we could create reports on demand. For instance, I'll be able to open up a mobile template, press a button, get a current state of what the values are inside my PLC. It's a great solution for machine builders, OEMs. It's a great Excel replacement. If you're filling out Excel spreadsheets today manually, this would be a great first step to moving into the electronic world. Next. But predominantly, most of our users use this scenario. The data is held inside VTScada history or VTScada alarms. The stories are almost the same. We report automatically, publish automatically. The key difference here is when we report on demand, the user is going to be able to specify parameters like, give me the alarms with this certain threshold. Give me the historical data between these two dates. Next. Here's the workflow. Next. Connect and design is about creating a template. Next. So we have VTScada connectors, as you've seen. We also have industry standards, OPCDA, UA. We also have business standards like to SQL Server, Oracle, MySQL. Not only will we be able to show raw data in the report, but we'll also show you analytics, min, max, average, but more industrial related, like how efficiently was this piece of equipment running? What are my top 5 alarms? When did my alarm floods occur? What are my CT values? Here's a sampling of the calculations we can do. Next. Once we've decided on the data source, then we need to pipe it into a template. The template's a workbook, and it can be designed either in our design studio or inside Microsoft Excel. It's entirely up to you. The outcome of both of these environments will give us a workbook, which our processing engine then will produce reports from. Use all the functionality of charts, formats, formulas. You remember that subtext? If you know Excel, you'll know Excel Reporter. This is really the key here. If you know, if you have Excel skills, you should be able to be working with Excel Reporter in a very short period of time. Dynamic names for scheduling reports, no limits on text and reports. Next. We have a template library, over 50 templates. They'll just work right out of the box. In my next presentation next week, I'll be showing you this in action. Next. So the next 2 steps is about creating the reports. Next. Next. Okay, when we create reports, it'll be on time or events, as we've said, during a machine cycle at the end of a shift. 3 different formats can be produced from that one workbook that you created in Designer. And then the report can be either distributed out to people through a web client or a Windows client. It's entirely up to you. We also are more than reporting. We're a solution. We can archive reports. We can run third-party scripts. We can take information out of a report and push it out to third entities like databases, the process. All this will be explored deeper next week. Let's go. Next. Well, Chris, you're sleeping at the wheel here.
The lag, sorry. It's the internet.
And then we can distribute by email. This could be landing on a plant manager's table, 8 o'clock every morning. Gives you a quick brief of what's been going on, or static pages. People going around with cell phones, being able to see up-to-date information. Next.
Click.
And then we can also distribute by dynamic responsive web pages. Dynamic because you're going to be able to go in there and specify what you want to see. Responsive because depending on the viewport, depending on whether it's a desktop or a mobile, you are going to see a different rendition of the report. Click.
Click.
So give you an idea of scalability and price for that matter. We've scaled it so that there's an entry point and there's an enterprise and beyond. And this gives you an idea of the price. Machine builders, OEMs, they want something low cost, effective. A distributed VTScada system probably would want our reporting embedded in. Next.
Click.
So how would you start? Well, you could ask VTScada for an evaluation copy, and you could roll with that. If not, you can download the Excel reporter. Instead of using the eval copy, you could use the simulators provided in our product. We provide simulators to live data, VT history, VT alarms. We have a comprehensive media of documentation, tutorials. And if all else fails, you can always contact us or VTScada, the Trihedral guys. Next. Over 25 years, I think we've learned something in that time. Over to you, Chris.
Well, thank you, Peter. Great job. You brought it in right on time. Well done. So at this point, we look forward to your presentation, which you've already mentioned, which you're going to do next week at the breakout session. So we look forward to learning more. And I think you're going to actually give us a live presentation.
I certainly am. I also have some videos recorded.
Nice.
Which will take us deep dive into the product.
Excellent. Thanks for joining us, Peter. See you soon.
Cool. Thanks very much, Peter. Appreciate you joining us.
Yes. Good morning, everyone.
All right. How you all holding up there? How's everybody doing? Everybody get up and stretch. Put your hands above your head.
So we're into the last hour now.
Well done. All right. Well done, everybody staring at the screen from wherever you are. Coming up next will be Dave and I are going to talk a little bit about alarm notifications. And after that, we're going to learn about modernizing annunciator panels with Affinity Energy.
Right. And then after that is coming up with Schweitzer Engineering, and that's going to be about securing critical infrastructure.
And then we're going to learn about effective use of dashboards and reporting with Iris.
All right. And then finally, we're going to come into the close with commercial automation and philanthropy with Xylem.
And that's going to be a great presentation. So, but first, kaboom!
Perfect. So, yes, our final contest, I believe. Or no, it's our second from the last.
Oh, there's more to come. All right.
So, as you had been, send an email to natasha.lutz@trihedral.com with the subject phrase, Chris?
All in one SCADA.
Exactly like you see it.
Great. So, and of course, read all the rules and regulations and click the links, and best of luck, everyone. So we've been talking a lot about integrated features with VTScada in between all of these other presentations. And one of the things, I think it's crept in a few places already so far, is talking about alarms and then alarm notifications.
Yeah, I know that, especially looking at Kennedy Industries, and they kind of talked about some of the evolution of alarm notification. You know, at one time, you were literally polling these devices. You know, I should say, at one time, you had somebody physically looking at a lift station or a pump house or whatever it is, and looking for that red light. And then they got telemetry. And telemetry was built on actually taking that red light and telling somebody more automatically that the red light was on. And then once you had the telemetry, bandwidth starts increasing, things get better, and you start to increase the number of I/O that you're bringing in digitally, and things really start to take off. And now people have almost the opposite problem, where they have so much I/O coming in that how do they manage it? And that comes up to our first presentation, where we're talking about ISA 101 and how to actually show this. So a big part of that comes into now we've got all this data. We need to manage our alarms. So we've got our ISA 18.2 alarm management stuff in the HMI, but we've also got the idea that those alarms need to call out. And how do we do that? How do we do it reliably? Because really, like you say, if you look back, part of the initial transformation to telemetry and automation for a big part of the industry was really just about getting those notifications that the red light is on, or that there is an alarm state somewhere that isn't in front of somebody. So
increasingly, there isn't, like you said, there isn't someone staring at a screen going, red thing, red thing.
Right, and rightfully so. I mean, oftentimes that person's time could be better spent doing work as opposed to sitting in front of the screen. So if they're able to separate that, they increase a big capacity in their utility in terms of what other things they can be doing, or where they can be adding value elsewhere.
And just to be clear, so there's two things we're talking about. One is basically the alarm and event management interface, which is sort of standard in VTScada. And then there's also the alarm notifications, which is the ability to create a list of contacts that the system will begin to reach out to and call, or SMS text, or send an email until it gets an acknowledgement.
Right.
And so those are two integrated things in VTScada.
Yeah, and actually, because they are integrated, you can actually cross the two. If you want that alarm message to be read aloud inside your plant, as opposed to just having the standard alarm sound, that's actually a box that you can check in VTScada to say, just read the message over the PA, rather than sounding the alarm sound, which to some people may be slightly more pleasing.
So the idea of the roster is really what our alarm notification system is, and because it's a built-in part of VTScada, it is like all of the components of VTScada. Every time you roll out a new version, and how many times did we release a new version in the last month? At least twice. New releases with new features, new fixes.
I think on average we're about one a month for a kind of a minor update, and we're probably every other year perhaps for a fairly major update.
Which we just had in February. We released version 12, which released a number of new features, some of which we've talked about today.
Yeah, and for those customers looking to go, you should be able to just install the new over the old, and your system is upgraded for you, unless you've done what Glenn sort of cautioned earlier and written a whole bunch of custom code that may or may not work for you. But the features that are built in, and it's a big part of that whole integrated solution, is at one time I remember being in this matrix of sort of bottlenecks, and you'd say, okay, well, this plugin hasn't been updated to the latest version of this, so we need to use one version older of this to work with this plugin, and they say that plugin doesn't work with the latest version of that, so you need to actually, and I ended up running Internet Explorer 9 when Chrome 50 was out or something, and I thought, this is ridiculous, but we were just bottlenecked by plugins in the corporate system. So anyway, so yeah, that's the whole idea of the integration and stuff is allows you to build on that. So speaking of alarms, alarm dialers, alarm annotation, so I think ties in kind of well to our next guest, actually. Chris?
Yes, we're bringing on Alan Evora. He is one of the systems integrators at Affinity Energy. Hi, Alan. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, we can hear you
Loud
great.
and clear, Alan. Thank you.
Where are you calling from today?
So I'm calling in from Charlotte, North Carolina. Not too far from one of your previous speakers.
That's right. And so how has your business been adapting to the current business practice of basically working at your dining room table?
Actually, it wasn't much of a transition for us. We've always had a very flexible policy of allowing our team members to work from home. So, and a lot of our internal systems are cloud-based. So really, I think it was a fairly, I don't want to say that it was minor, but certainly the transition to work from home was a good transition. I think we're finding perhaps that it might be something that we'll take advantage of more in the future, even after things settle down.
Right.
So, yeah. But,
so I don't know if you can move yourself a little closer to your microphone, can you?
Yeah, I can. Is that better?
Ah, there you go. Wow, that's a world better. Thank you.
Okay, great.
So let's, why don't we get started here? Great. We'll start the presentation, and I do your bidding, say next or back.
Certainly. Well, so Affinity Energy, we're a specialty control system integrator, and we kind of are, our mission really is to unlock the potential of today's energy resources by providing systems and services that allow what we call mission critical facilities and distributed generation plants to operate more efficiently, reliably, and safely. So within that, we provide solutions around a couple of these that you see on the slide right now: electrical power management systems, SCADA systems. We do a lot of sub-metering, especially for energy tracking, energy control, and then certainly electrical controls, so transfer schemes, everything, demand response, load shed, that type of thing. We've been around since 2002, and certainly we've been a VTScada integrator for quite some while now. And I'd like to talk to you a little bit about a unique application that we've done next. So one of the vertical industries that we're certainly very involved with is healthcare. And for those in the audience who might be involved or provide services to the healthcare industry, one of the things that you'll know is that the healthcare industry has a lot of regulations and guidelines that they have to comply with. So I'm going to talk today a little bit about a project that we did with a local healthcare industry here in Charlotte, and how we were able to bring their annunciator panels for their generators kind of into the digital age. Next. So really, this presentation is really kind of a primer for a more in-depth or deeper dive presentation that I'll give next week at the breakout session. But I'm just going to try and highlight a couple of the challenges that the healthcare industry is experiencing around these generator annunciator panels, kind of the solution that we provided, and then kind of outline some of the benefits that can be realized through this solution. Next. Looks like there's a little lag.
There is, yeah. I'll say click when I say click, just so you know it's coming.
Okay. Well, so really one of the challenges that the healthcare industry is experiencing is there's obviously a tremendous growth and consolidation occurring. Additionally, as most major healthcare providers, maintaining accreditation is important, and certainly that requires them to comply with a multitude of different regulations, and those regulations or standards are constantly changing. You know, obviously we want to improve those environments within those healthcare systems. And like with anything, space is limited, and people are being asked to do more with less. Next.
Click.
So this presentation that I'll give next week is really being driven by a standard that is put out by the National Fire Protection Association. And the particular standard that we're going to be discussing is going to be the 110 standard. And that's the standard that has to deal with the correct installation, testing, and maintenance of emergency and standby power systems. Next.
Click.
Okay, so if you are a healthcare provider or a healthcare system and you have a standby generator and human life depends on that generator operating properly, you're going to fall under a category called Level 1. And Level 1 outlines, in addition to the installation and the testing and maintenance requirements, a set of indications and alarms that have to be enunciated both locally at the generator and then remotely at a location that is manned 7/24/365. And the piece that I'm going to talk about is that remote location. So this slide just, next. So I want to pay attention to the right side of the slide here. We're going to come back. A later slide is going to show what's on the left. But what does a remote generator annunciator panel look like? So if you, let me let the slide catch up here on the presentation. But this slide will show a typical installation. In this case, we're looking at annunciator panels for 5 generators. So if you look over on the right side of the slide, which just popped up, this is something that you might typically see in either a security office, or it could be sometimes at a switchboard operating station, but it'll be at a place in the hospital that has personnel there all the time, because that's certainly one. If a alarm that would impact that generator operating occurs, there must be personnel that are able to recognize that and respond. And unlike data centers or some facilities, hospitals don't typically build operation centers within their hospitals, so they end up putting these annunciator panels in locations like security or like nursing stations. So as you can see from those annunciator panels, they're quite antiquated, and to be honest, those are pretty recent type pieces of hardware. Next.
Click.
So the solution, and we'll take a little bit deeper dive into this next week during the breakout session that we looked at. So we had a healthcare provider that was required to address some new alarms that were part of the most recent standard. So what happens in these hospitals is whenever there is a capital project in an area, let's say in a central energy plant, you add a new generator. What's going to happen is that generator, in addition to complying with the current standard, it's going to force the existing generators that are in that vicinity to also be brought up to the current standards. So this particular healthcare provider had a need to update the annunciator panels. And as you can imagine, a lot of those remote annunciator panels, again, they are driven off of digital communications, but they require obviously a space for the indicator, and then typically there's going to be some programming required. And then for this particular provider, space was also, they were going through a renovation and really being pressed to consolidate space. So what we did is we took VTScada. I think this was 1,000 tag version running on a computer, and we embedded it in a panel. That panel could be located above the ceiling, powered off of UPS. And then we put a 46-inch interactive touchscreen, much like you might see on a kiosk or a lot of these, lobbies now that you see. And then that monitor is located, in this particular application, it was at a switchboard operating center. Next.
Click.
So a couple things that we learned from this, and I know we're winding down on time, is that, certainly there were multiple generator manufacturers that we had to integrate, and in today's world, all the generator manufacturers are supporting open protocol integration. So VTScada was a perfect fit. We were talking Modbus to the multiple generators. The solution itself saved a lot of space. It also ultimately was able to provide a louder enunciation. One of the challenges they had with some of the older enunciators is the sirens and the audibles just weren't that loud. So we were able to address that issue as well. And then additionally, moving forward, as they added more generators, so we showed 16 generators on that. It didn't start that way. When we first did the project, there were 14, and then we added 2 more. So certainly addressing changes can be done in both a timely and economical manner. Next.
With now just a few seconds left.
Okay. Well, and so again, key benefits were really the reduction in space. That solution was much more cost effective than the traditional hardware type solutions. And additional to that, one of the things that we were able to do is, in addition to having the main panel at the nursing station, the maintenance and technician personnel who are in plant engineering wanted to have a second panel. So looking at the drawing that's on the page, that was really a no-brainer for us with able to use the network. So even though they don't have personnel there, they're aware of what's going on. And we'll take a deeper dive into this next week, but that's kind of the gist of what we've done, and hopefully others who have customers in the healthcare industry might be able to benefit from it.
That's excellent. Thanks. Go ahead.
Yep.
I was just going to say that was very cool. Thanks, Alan, for that.
Yep.
So
and
next
we look forward to seeing your presentation next week. Thanks for joining us, Alan.
Certainly. No, thank you for having us as part of your automation village.
Thank you. Yep. So next up, we've got Dennis Gamble from Schweitzer Engineering Laboratories. And Schweitzer did a presentation at our last breakout session. They did a fantastic job. They showed some of their hardware last week, and it was really neat. They really had done a big job of industrializing them. They showed some of the testing they've done. It was a really great presentation. So I'm looking forward to this one.
Hi, Dennis. Are you there?
Yes. Good morning. And
excellent.
Good afternoon to some.
Yeah, exactly. We're spread all over, but we're in Chicago.
Okay.
So what are you going to talk about today?
Yeah, I wanted to now speak a little bit about a new approach to cybersecurity and some of the new technologies that maybe some folks don't know about that SEL has been working with others to develop. It's interoperable with technology already out there, and it's purpose-built for control systems. So I just wanted to kind of introduce that to some folks.
Excellent. So just say next whenever you want me to advance the slide.
Right on. Next. So when SEL was founded, we primarily sold devices to electric utilities. But as our product portfolio grew, so did the number of industries we partnered with. SEL now designs and manufactures solutions for a variety of industries, including the pulp and paper, transportation, water and wastewater, education, healthcare, government, mission-critical facilities, oil and gas, and petrochemical operations. Next.
Click.
Since the very beginning, our experts and technology have offered frontline defense against cyber attacks. I even think of protection on electric power systems as a type of cybersecurity control. Next.
Click.
Industrial control systems must maintain safe, reliable, and economic operation in order to maintain our critical infrastructures. The system is coordinating between many different stages at the speed of light. When a fault or event occurs, it must be detected and isolated immediately. Once isolated, modern-day control systems can then respond and be reconfigured to maintain as much of the system as possible. So we stride on innovating and creating the next best solution for these type of systems. We have now devices protecting systems that are making decisions in a quarter of a power cycle, or about 2 to 4 milliseconds. And we understand that no matter how fast we make the decision, the system must be secure and balance many types of risk. Next. Security is many things, but some that I want to point out is based around understanding your systems and risk to those systems. Some characteristics of strong security programs include maintaining policies, developing partnerships, understanding risks, choosing the correct technology, and continuing to improve. Security is an ongoing process. As such, partnerships can be very beneficial to the security of organizations. Developing and maintaining partnerships with peer organizations, suppliers, and end users allows for better information sharing and assistance with recovery of an incident. Next. At SEL, we believe to achieve secure systems, they should be designed with a defense-in-depth approach. A defense-in-depth is creating mutually supporting protection mechanisms so that as one is manipulated, the next can alert or defend. Each layer, if implemented correctly, will increase the time, talent, and cost an adversary will need to exert their goals without getting caught. So we think of them as hurdles to their efforts, while also including points of demarcation where we can isolate and respond to the intrusion. Next. One of our mantras is
I think we may have lost him. Just one moment. He's logging back in right now.
It sounded like he raced away there.
I know that motorcycle was outside my window. It's the old joke. My ride is here.
Yeah. All right, so it looks like we're just bringing him back in now. He should be in just a minute here.
Just say hi when you're back, Alan. So I guess while we're waiting, we can again. Oh, I'm on the wrong page.
Hi, it's Dennis.
Hey, Dennis. Welcome back. You disappeared just as a motorcycle went by, so we thought maybe you just left on the motorcycle.
No, it just disconnected on me. I wasn't sure what happened. So I was talking about a relay being a relay. Is that still the slide that's up?
That's it.
All right. So basically, what we want to do is make sure that we apply the appropriate technology for security. Otherwise, it's going to add cost and potentially vulnerabilities to these core assets of our critical infrastructure. Next slide.
Click.
One of the ways to ensure that we at SEL are approaching security and technology appropriately is through collaboration and partnership. We have taken and led on many occasions with public-private partnerships, particularly under the U.S. Department of Energy's Cybersecurity for Energy Delivery Systems program. So this program provides impetus for innovative cybersecurity products and technologies for industrial control systems while also being interoperable with the types of technology already out there. Next.
Click.
And just to make sure that we, because of the interruption, Exiguard is one of those technologies we developed. I'm not going to go into it in great depth, but hopefully be able to talk to it more maybe next week. But it's an anti-malware solution that's meant for embedded devices. It's also meant, basically designed such that you don't ever have to do any updates on the system because it whitelists everything that's happening inside embedded device. It just simply makes sense for control system products. Next.
Click.
We also developed secure engineering access solutions. IEDs are the core to any control system and are ideally set and forget. The distributed control systems are engineered with devices having a specific purpose. A technician rarely, if ever, needs to make changes to them. And so we ask Do these devices need the heavy and complex IT protocols and technology that enables user accounts with 24/7 availability? The answer is no, and is why SEL, along with DOE, developed the idea of IED credential management and user proxy access, still achieving AAA security. Next. But one of the more new and exciting technologies I wanted to call out from the SEDS program is the Operational Technology Software-Defined Network. Originally designed for performance required by energy control system using Ethernet communication circuits with astonishing failover times. Because of topology dependence, a traditional switch fabric with RSTP might have failover speed of 10 to 100 milliseconds. OTSDN, though, can switch paths in under 100 microseconds. Utilities can now traffic engineer their Ethernet communications as they do the rest of the distributed control system with deny by default access control. With this technology, utilities can create an Ethernet network diagram and data flow diagram of their control system traffic and lock down the Ethernet communication in the LAN to only that traffic. Next.
Click. 1 minute.
So with these interoperable technologies and the many others I did not have time to mention, SEL also has the expertise and engineering service to help utilities learn and deploy these new technologies. We do this because...
Sorry, you've got 2 minutes. Sorry.
All right. We do this because SEL employee owners are also dependent upon the critical infrastructure that we want to serve and protect. Next.
Click.
SEL has decades of experience with utility distributed control systems and has an in-depth understanding of the operational aspects of these systems. We are often asked to work with information technologies to design security for industrial control systems. SEL has expertise in both the control system aspects as well as the IT aspects of cybersecurity design in these control systems. I hope I was able to inform you of some new, less costly, safer, and reliable technology that is purpose-built to secure and protect our critical infrastructure. And next. With that, I look forward to speaking more in depth on some of these next week.
Great job. Thanks, Dennis. Yep. So for the people who are listening at home, who are the ones who really ought to be leaning forward right now when someone talks about this technology?
I see the folks who basically have the responsibility and ownership on the control systems themselves, and maybe are receiving pressure on using different types of maybe Ethernet communications or other technology in their systems that really is possibly impacting the performance, as well as maybe complicated and difficult to understand, making someone think, well, how do I know this is secure?
Right. And when someone is identified that they are the person who, what this guy is saying, I need to know more about, what do people need to do before they pick up the phone and call you? What's the first step that an organization has to do internally?
One of the things I probably didn't call out enough in my slides is really understanding many aspects about their system, what type of assets they already have, what type of communications that's taking place between those assets. And even if they are unaware of that today, then we can help them basically get to that understanding on their system, and maybe even think of some things that they haven't thought of that maybe about their control system that they need to be paying more attention to. So in reality, they can call us anytime.
And what is the time, like if someone does call you and they've done all this, what is an average timeline between that first contact and being able to have the first implementation?
So to actually get to implementation, we're going to want to sit down and really understand A, their system overall, B, the gaps that they may have in their system, and C, the problem maybe that they were attempting to get answers to begin with. And then at that point, we can prioritize what it is that they can do today and what they should be looking at and doing in the future. And then from a deployment perspective, we sit down and we engineer that solution, as well as making sure that we design it in a way that can put in the future items as well.
That's great. Thanks, Dennis. Anything from you, Dave?
Yeah, I was just kind of curious. So the offering that you guys have, how does that normally tie into somebody who maybe has other systems? Maybe they've got another firewall somewhere else in their system, and or maybe they have a VPN coming in or out. And how do you guys integrate into those types of systems?
Yeah, that's a great question. So everything, especially the new technology that we've come out with in the products, is meant to interoperate with that. Those other types of technologies like firewalls, routers, Radius, protocols like Radius and LDAP, your central authentication controls, as well as certificate authorities. All that is already sometimes in place, and so this technology is meant to work with that. And if it's not in place, then we have ways in which we can provide the same solution, but is less complicated and less costly.
That's great. Well, that brings us to the end of our time. Thanks, Dennis. Great job. And on the screen here, people can see if they want to carry on this conversation from here. By all means, write them at the email address you see, or click on the link to their website in the comments for the live stream.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Dennis. Appreciate that. So if you just popped up your email to email Dennis because you couldn't wait another second, please do wait another second, because it's time for our final contest. So, as before, email natasha.lutz@trihedral.com with the subject phrase, Chris?
Eliminate mistakes.
Exactly as you see it.
I'm speaking in uppercase. That's what that sounds like.
So yes, we normally speak in camel case, but
because we work with programmers.
So
excellent. So hit send on that right now, but only once. Only one email per contest slide. So good luck, everybody.
Yes.
And,
like I say, I would love to qualify for one of those gift cards, but sadly.
We can't, our families can't, and our presenters can't, and their families can't. So sorry, everybody.
So for everybody else, that gives you guys great chance.
So we've been talking a lot about we've been talking to a lot of vendors who actually connect to VTScada and pull that data out. And I guess it might work to take another step back and talk about another integrated feature, which is the enterprise historian that's built into VTScada, and that sort of intersects with a lot of the conversations that we've had in terms of redundancy and things like that. It's an enterprise historian. It's built in. The same one for the 50 tag license is it's the same installer for the million tag application, and but because we have our own historian, it upgrades, as we talked before, in lockstep with the application. It's part of the redundancy package, but we're not greedy about that data. We want to take care of it. We want to distribute it. We want to make it available. So now we're going to talk a little bit about how we do that.
Right. So a big part of that is our third-party data sharing, as we call it, and it's basically just allows VTScada to be accessed by other users, other systems, other servers, any kind of number of devices using a variety of protocols. So the newest one is the REST interface, and for those of you familiar with REST and sort of big data queries, our REST interface also supports pagination. And for those of you who are using our ODBC in version 12, that ODBC query is now done using REST with pagination. So you should see some big performance increases on the time it takes you to query data, but also you'll see a huge decrease in the amount of RAM and usage that you would get on your server when you're making those bigger queries. So, Chris, did you want to talk about some of the other interfaces that
yeah, absolutely. So ODBC is another popular one for reporting packages or some other platform to come in and basically query our historian as if it was a standard ODBC compliant database, to run queries against it, pull back data results, And basically, and also OPC, that's another one. Web services is another way that people do it. And we've set it up so that really anybody who supports those interfaces should be able to create for themselves an interface to the VTScada historian. But in some cases, we've gone further than that. We either ourselves or we've partnered with another organization to create a more streamlined interface to a platform, so that you don't have to construct that from scratch. You can do it just connect and click.
Yeah, and users making those queries are able to do that using the built-in security to decide who can and can't. They can do it over SSL, and they can also do that using Windows Active Directory or some other type of authentication that basically gives that user the ability to pull data, even if it's just specific to a certain area. So moving on to our next guest presenter. We've got Tim Cruz on the line from Aramosa or ERIS, and he's going to talk to us a little bit more about dashboard and reporting, which for sure is using one of these third-party data sharing connectors that we were just discussing. Tim, do we have you on the line there?
Yes, you do.
Perfect.
Welcome, Tim. Where are you calling from today?
I am in Detroit, and it is a pretty nasty day. So the last presenter had a motorcycle go by. I've been hearing loud thunderstorms and seeing a lot of lightning. So if you hear that and I disappear, maybe I got struck. I don't know.
I hear that's good luck.
Not sure.
So we've been working for a number of years. We've been working alongside Aramosa and ERIS in some co-marketing events. You and I have done webinars before. So today you're going to talk to us a little bit about, or a lot about, this ERIS application. So why don't you just give us a bit of an introduction there? And I'm going to go to the first slide. And when you want me to say next, I'll just go to the next slide.
Well, great. Well, thanks, Chris. And really appreciate it. Yeah, you are correct. We've been working together, and we do use both your ODBC and your new REST API to pull data in and present it through our product that we're going to talk about today, ERIS. Next, please. Click. So most people have not necessarily heard of ERIS, and so the place that I like to start is the simple question, what is ERIS? And it is a unique tool within the industry. It is not just a simple data reporting solution. It's not just a data analytics solution. It is a complete data management platform that is at its core a data hub, but then it's also a suite of products or applications that do three things really well with information: help you analyze, manage, or visualize that information. And we really look at the entire enterprise. So not to slight the great guys at Trihedral, but SCADA is only one of the data sources that most people need to use and look at. We look at the entire enterprise of data. Next. So when we're looking at enterprise data, these are the things that we're talking about. In a typical water system, which a lot of our customers are part of, we're looking at maintenance data or billing information or looking at energy information. We also integrate third-party provider information from external sources. We give you tools to put data in that you might be collecting manually. So we're not just a single source provider, but we look at entire sets of data. And the cool thing about it is we don't copy and recopy that data. We simply connect to where that data is and lives and bring it into our tool seamlessly in real time. Next.
Click.
So how do we compare with some of those other applications? I said we're not a typical reporting solution. Well, reporting solutions do things like build reports and have users be able to build reports and do that really well. But when you look at all of the things that somebody might want to do, from like data normalization or time zone management or algorithms or an electronic logbook or data brokering, well, typical reporting applications don't really fit the mark. Next.
Click.
I mentioned logbooks. We have an integrated logbook tool that sits in top of or next to all of the things that we can do with reporting. But logbook solutions don't typically do reporting, and they don't do business analytics, and they don't do data integration. Click. And business intelligence solutions, or BI applications, they do a lot more. They have lots of algorithms and a lot of data connectivity solutions, but they don't typically do reporting real well, and they don't have integrated logbooks, and they don't do a lot of data management or data validation or normalization. But then you get to ERIS. Next. And we believe that we're one of the only providers that provide a huge, broad set of tools to be able to give you those, to give you the things that you need to do to be able to visualize, analyze, and manage information all from one platform. Next. So, you know, what are some of the things that we do around data management? Well, I've already mentioned electronic logbooks, but we've got an integrated online report builder tool where end users can build their own reports. You don't need to be a report designer. We have really good ways to do exporting of data, both when you're looking at it as well as large data exports for engineering projects or to provide data to third-party consultants who need a lot of information sometimes at the beginning of a project. Have lots of forms and tools to be able to put data into databases. And of course, we have mobile devices applications that help integrate all of that data as well. Next.
Click.
From an analytics perspective, ERIS has a very powerful calculation and analytics engine built into it. So it can do simple but also very complex algorithms. We also have a tool that does monitoring of your data. So you don't have to look for information. You can have ERIS go and find anomalies that are in your system and notify and provide people a path to move ahead when they find troublesome points within your system. We have a big tool that does validation of data so that you can get a clean stream of data that you might need to share with customers or regulatory agents. Next. And from a visualization standpoint, we have all kinds of tools that help visualize information. We have reports and dashboards and online ad hoc tools to be able to trend or query data. And that's not data from just that one system isolated, but you can pull data from multiple data sets and put it onto the same report or into the same dashboard or into the same trend, easy and seamlessly. We even support alarm statistics and have tools to look at asset systems and maintenance systems. So you can compare performance data from SCADA versus maintenance and asset information and compare that information and make better decisions about repair or replacement decisions.
Click.
Next.
Click.
So how do we sell ERIS? Well, we have different products that meet the needs of different organizations. Haven't seen the next slide, guys.
Oh, yeah. You're not seeing options for every budget and need?
Nope, I don't, but maybe that's just me. So let's keep going. There it is. Now I saw it. So finally, so we sell ERIS in a suite of products. We have 5 different products. The 4 products that I'm going to just highlight today are ERIS Hub, which is a middleware tool. It uses that REST API, a similar REST API that the guys were talking about a few minutes ago. Then we have 3 other products. ERIS Core is the typical product that most people start out with. It has all the tools that our customers need to do the things that we were talking about. It includes logbooks, it includes data query and reporting and even monitoring of tags. But ERIS Max is designed for those customers who really want to do a lot with data management and application information support. It gives maximum flexibility for whatever you want to do. It includes unlimited users and unlimited data connections, and really gives the power that people need. And for those very large organizations, we even have a multi-server, multi-scalable architecture called Iris Nova, supports thousands of users who need access to that lifeblood of data that exists in your organization. Next.
Click.
So just a few of the people who are using Iris, we have from the very small, not listed on this slide, but to very large organizations that have partnered with us. Iris is we have people, we call them partners because that's how we feel about our customers. They help us make the product better, and we help them by giving them a tool that they can use to do what they need to do on a daily basis. Next.
Click.
So the last thing I wanted to talk about today was our Iris Log product. You know, in these difficult times and with these unusual circumstances around the pandemic, social distancing and the need to keep connected while apart has become very apparent, hence why we're doing a virtual trade show. Iris includes a log tool called Iris Log that helps operations, plant operations, or maintenance groups keep connected through an easy to use and easy to deploy log technology that's both available on the web and on mobile devices. And we're offering that as a solution, a software as a solution, starting at just $299 a month with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So really easy way to get into Iris as a product through our Iris Log. Next.
Click. 1 minute.
Nothing says it better than what one of our customers say about our tool. So this came in a couple of weeks ago from one of our users of our Iris Log. And they find the tool invaluable for keeping their employees connected while staying socially distanced. Without it, they really weren't sure how they could have kept going in a safe and compliant manner. So, next.
Great.
Thanks, guys.
Well, thank you. Well done. You've covered a lot of material there, Tim. So what can we look forward to next week during your presentation?
Well, what I've got planned next week is basically 3 examples around some use cases that are available at our customers. One is a big wastewater treatment plant where they are doing some really cool monitoring of tags and really saving a lot of money by keeping 2 separate groups informed about what each other are doing without having to worry about in-plant communication or management structures. They're really using the power of Iris to keep people up to date and monitored. The second, just want to show you a bunch of visualizations around how people are using Iris technology to look for leaks in water distribution systems before they turn into big water main breaks.
Right.
And finally, I'm going to also show a demonstration of the Iris Log product that I just mentioned a couple of minutes ago.
That's great. Live demos are always great fun. Thanks for joining us, Tim.
Thanks,
You're
guys.
good at them.
Thanks very much. Appreciate you joining us today.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you, and have a great day.
Thanks.
You too. Bye. Excellent. Moving right along as we barrel to the end of this on
so this
the road.
This is our last guest presenter, isn't it?
It is.
So
and this is somebody who we see at almost every trade show we go to, although only a blur because she's so busy that we only have time to say hi. Hi, Jamie. Jamie Sachs with Xylem. Are you there?
Hi, Chris. Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Wonderful. How are you all doing today?
Doing very well.
So where are you and how's the weather where you are?
Well, the weather is fantastic and sunny today. I am in Stamford, Connecticut, just north of Manhattan.
Oh, nice. Wow. So today we're going to talk about something. You do a lot of really interesting work that kind of spans two different kind of mindsets, and today you're going to sort of try to help us bring those two things together. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. I'm excited to share a commercial approach with an integrated corporate social responsibility and philanthropic approach. So very happy to be here with you all today, and thanks for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you. So why don't we just jump right in and just say next when you need me to say next, or back if I go too fast.
Great. Thanks, Chris. Well, I wanted to just start out by saying, and we can flip to the next slide, about 12 years ago is really when I started my career in the water business. And it was also at the same time the opportunity to actually partner with VTScada and the Trihedral team there. And so while I was creating this presentation, it came of interest to me that I've really had a relationship with you and your team for 12 years, which is amazing. And so I started with a small water technology and automation company called Multitrode, which today is now owned by my current company, Xylem, which for those who are not aware of who Xylem is, it's a global water technology leader, and we provide multiple solutions across the water portfolio. And through the years of walking through many sewage pump stations and treatment plants in a hard hat and even steel-toed boots once in a while, I was working with municipalities to help solve their problems, but realized that the opportunity of how technology was beginning to revolutionize the collection systems for operators, especially domestically here in the US at the time. And through my experience in the water technology and infrastructure space, I had reflected on how fortunate we were to be part of providing solutions for the global community, for our frontline utility operators, and building operations teams to deliver optimally for the most life essential need, water. So around the world today, we have many micro or macro factors that are driving innovation and automation of infrastructure needs. But one of those large macro drivers are disasters. And so when more and more natural disasters are occurring today around the world, we're being led to build more resilient systems by using automation and digitizing to create efficiency. Next slide, please.
Click.
So when Hurricane Sandy struck New York City, a majority of the LaGuardia Airport runway was underwater. And at the time, the current team that I was a part of realized the need to work with LaGuardia operations team to automate their stormwater pumping systems to ensure that the drainage from the runway would exit as quickly and efficiently as possible. And so we were able to help design a robust control system with redundancy, with submersible enclosures that would withstand water submersion of up to around 18 feet. And once we completed that portion of the system around the perimeter of the airport for their stormwater drain multitude of areas. But what we did is we implemented an entire SCADA system for not just the stormwater stations on the periphery of the airport, but we were also able to integrate the terminal sewage ejectors, which are inside the terminals of the airport, the pumping stations outside, which are delivering sewage to the treatment plants in the local area to be treated by the NYC Department of Environmental Protection, their fire systems, and then integrating additional importance of how critical it is to understand the value of solutions and how we keep them running. So what really in the end result of that is that the community relies on these systems. Next slide.
Click.
I want to provide another example of that. And when the tragedy of 9/11 hit New York City, as a majority of the people on this phone probably are very familiar with, the community rallied around creating a more resilient and symbiotic, made the pumping systems work through automation. What we actually did was we created social value for families, local residents, and now visitors who now come to New York City to learn more about the impact of 9/11 and those who fought for our country during the disaster. Next slide, please. As I've continued the journey in the water infrastructure space, it has been apparent that we were transforming beyond that impact the community overall. Next slide. Okay. Therefore, the point I'm getting to is that we're leading to a much more innovative way of thinking around how we drive social and economic value in our business models today. We're also doing this in the water infrastructure space by bringing community and philanthropic efforts. So today we're creating social value through philanthropic efforts, specifically at Xylem, but also through industry trade associations and other tangential nonprofit associations in communities around the world. And specifically with what we're doing today, at Xylem, through our corporate social responsibility program, Xylem Watermark, we're providing water and sanitation access technologies combined with community-centric philanthropic programming can drive innovation within the water sector. When we talk about what we're looking at globally through general corporate social responsibility and commercial opportunities, we're collaborating with partners today, such as Planet Water Foundation, AmeriCares, who's a nonprofit organization that is very focused on the healthcare industry, but has started to work with us on providing WASH education programming, working with others like UNICEF and local nonprofits around the world in communities to bring clean water access, sanitation, and education. And so what we've developed is we've developed a hybrid program for our customer base that allows our customers to submit grant applications on behalf of nominating a nonprofit in their local community to drive funding for resiliency programming and additional education programming to assist local communities to build out the resiliency efforts that they need to support their vulnerable areas. Another example of that is that our team has been able to take the technology, engineering expertise, manufacturing capability, and philanthropic expertise to make face shields for frontline healthcare workers and utility workers that are then distributed by partners and customers that are facing the impact of COVID-19. And so to make this really relevant to what we've been talking about today through our commercial experience and my commercial experience personally, but also through impacting communities, we combine the expertise that we've generated in the water industry with social value creation together, which allows us to solve water, but it's much greater than that. It also allows us to impact the lives of many people around the world and also in our own local communities. And so, Chris, that really concludes my presentation, but what I want to leave everyone with is this. We have so much value we're creating with automation and digitization in the water space. And if we just think a little bit beyond how that's actually impacting our own residents in our communities, it really goes a long way through the way that we're developing and innovating our solutions. And so I'll leave you with that. And I really thank you for your time today and appreciate the invitation to experience this virtual trade show format.
Thank you, Jamie. That was great. And that's a really great note to end this particular virtual trade show on. It's certainly a high bar and one that we can all reflect on as we go forward with our work.
Yeah, thank you for that, Jamie. And I did really appreciate how you ended on that whole. I think a lot of people have the mindset that automation is bringing people further from the products rather than helping people connect into things, and also oftentimes making for a better experience for people who may have had a more monotonous job of taking notes and writing records and other things. And it's putting a lot of those people into more of a role of being a detective or something, even in their business role. Where they're perhaps having a more interesting day learning about how they can predict issues and how they can increase efficiency, as opposed to simply living in the mud reacting to what's gone wrong previously. So that was really great.
Thank you. And I'm just enjoying the fact that we have had such a long-term relationship with VTScada, and Xylem continues to have that with our monitoring and controls platforms. So we appreciate the partnership and look forward to sharing more in the future.
Thanks, Jamie. And we look forward to seeing you at an actual real live trade show soon.
Yes, hopefully we'll be getting back to those before too long.
Great.
So thanks very much. Have a great day.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Bye.
So,
All
Chris,
right.
this takes us very, very much into the finale.
The big finish, the dismount.
So
and it's this slide. So thanks everybody who came on board. I guess we've got a few bits of housekeeping to cover. One is, as we've mentioned numerous times, we have our breakout sessions, which is the sort of pair to our virtual trade show experience. And that is a set of 3 concurrent live webinars that each will contain about 3 or 4 experts each. Will be hosted by myself and you and producer Pete Diffley, who has been whispering in our ears the whole time. So be sure to register for that, and you'll hear more about all of the topics that we just covered.
right, and those are also recorded. So if you follow one of the tracks and you need to jump side to side, you can always go back after the fact. We will eventually be putting them up online, and so you'll be able to go back and see anything that you may have missed.
And of course, in June, the bus will go to a new virtual city. We'll go virtually to a new city. So if you're attending this, if you're hearing our voice, you will find out about this when the email reaches you.
So we will presumably be live there and everywhere else.
Right. And we've also, you're on YouTube. We're on YouTube right now. We never think to do this, but right now, before you do another thing, hit subscribe. We'd really appreciate that. We're always there's all those things you're supposed to put at the end of every video, inviting people to subscribe, and we never do that. So please do right now. No pressure.
Yeah, and as a final note, VTScada Lite. So this is a product that we released a few years back. This is our free SCADA software, and whether you're running 2 million tags or you're downloading VTScada Lite, no, it's the exact same installer. It's the same product. So your home system for monitoring your solar power or whatever it is that you may have as a project, and be mindful it can be an industrial product. It's not a limited time download. You get it, you install it. I think we're giving everybody up to 10 licenses for free. And beyond that, if you want to carry on, if you're an OEM or somebody and you like this, you want to put it into your product, then you can contact us on the low tag band pricing. But VTScada Lite, like I say, is very, very, very featured SCADA software. Easy to install, easy to make your app, easy to connect to your I/O.
And we were kind of talking about redundancy earlier and server failover, and you can actually do that amongst those. If you had 10 thin client licenses, or 10 VTScada Lite licenses, you can actually network those as 10 redundant servers.
Yeah, and basically, so VTScada, VTScada Lite, any of it is going to run essentially Windows 10, IoT Enterprise, and upward. So essentially anything other than IoT Core in the Windows platform.
We work hard to make sure that when you download VTScada, you can run that on the latest Windows machine with the latest updates applied. So we don't force you to lock off your Windows computer and don't do any security updates because it all works. Leave it be. Don't look at it. We encourage everybody. We work with the latest version of the software. We make sure we've got the latest version of Windows and all of the security updates.
Yep. So head to the website, get that. And even if on that VTScada Lite page, you may find a couple of little demo apps there. If you don't have anything for yourself, you can take a look at it. You can kind of play around with it. We also have a lot of YouTube videos, different tutorials, other things. And we have a forum, forum.trihedral.com, I believe. So quite happy to bring everybody in, help them show off their products, and also learn quite a bit about what people are doing. It helps keep us sharp on what's going on and the direction of the industry.
And thank you for watching. That's it. Now, to end off with, we've been coming to you. We're coming to you live and pretending to be from Chicago. Now we're going to have somebody who's in Chicago and pretending to be live, and that is Dan Naughton, who runs the VTScada sales office in Chicago, and we'll let him end things off.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
I hope you enjoyed your tour of Chicago as well as a glimpse of life in the suburbs. If you have time before you leave and begin your long trip down the Kennedy towards O'Hare, maybe you have time to sample a few more of Chicago's finest. To our normal lives. The summers in Chicago are especially fun. The band I play in plays at a lot of outdoor music festivals, which I enjoy. With that, I will let you go. Thank you for listening.